Welcome, traveler. The forge is lit, the work has finally ceased, and the night belongs to us once more. Tonight's tale begins not with heroic knights, not with gleaming swords raised in battle, not with those romanticized blacksmiths you see in fantasy movies who somehow look clean and well-rested, but with real medieval blacksmiths, the ones whose hands were permanently scarred, whose lungs were filled with smoke, and whose life expectancy was about as optimistic as a coin flip. You're a blacksmith in 1345 London, Cheapside district. You've been working this trade for 15 years, started as an apprentice at age 12. You're now 27 years old, which in medieval terms makes you practically elderly for someone in your profession. Your hands are covered in burn scars. Your hearing is partially gone from 15 years of hammering metal. You cough up black phlegm every morning. Your back feels like someone's been using it for anvil practice. Good news? You're a master craftsman. You have your own shop. You're earning actual money in an economy where most people trade chickens for bread. Bad news? That shop is basically a hazardous workspace that you voluntarily enter every single day. The heat is unbearable, the smoke is toxic, the sparks are everywhere. Your apprentice is incompetent. The guild has 17,000 regulations you have to follow, or they'll fine you into poverty. And that thing you're making? It needs to be perfect, or your customer will refuse to pay, and also tell everyone you're terrible at your job. Before we dive in, light that like button. Subscribe if you enjoy this journey through dark history. Drop a comment telling me where you're watching from and what medieval nightmare you want examined next. Now then, dim the lights, get comfortable, let's begin our work. Congratulations, you've spawned as a medieval blacksmith. Your tutorial was 7 years of unpaid labor as an apprentice getting beaten by your master. Your starting equipment is a set of tools that cost more than most people earn in a year. Your health bar is already at 60% because you've been breathing smoke since you were 12. Permadeath enabled. Workplace safety. Never heard of her. It's 4 in the morning. Winter. 1345. London. You're awake because the rooster 3 houses down has been yelling about the sun for the past 20 minutes, even though the sun won't actually rise for another 2 hours. Very helpful. Very considerate of your sleep schedule. Your house is attached to your workshop. By attached, I mean they're the same building. You live where you work. You sleep 15 feet from the forge. The smell of coal smoke and metal is so deeply embedded in the walls that your house smells like an industrial accident even when the forge is cold. Your wife has given up on the idea of fresh air. Your son and daughter were born into this. They think everyone's house smells like a foundry. This is normal to them. You're sleeping on a straw mattress, not a Casper mattress with cooling gel and 5-star reviews. Straw, in a wooden bed frame you made yourself, because buying furniture is for rich people. The straw hasn't been changed in 4 months. Something is living in it. Multiple somethings. You've made peace with this. The bugs are roommates now. Your blanket is wool. Scratchy wool that feels like someone wove it from angry sheep and regret. It's warm, though. You need warm. Your workshop has a forge that burns at 2,000 degrees during the day, but absolutely zero insulation for nighttime. The temperature in here right now is maybe 40 degrees. Just cold enough to make you miserable, but not cold enough to actually kill you. Medieval climate control. You get up. Your back cracks in 3 places. Your knees sound like someone's crushing walnuts. You're 27. 27. You feel 50. Your body is already done with this profession. Too bad you've got another 20 years minimum if you're lucky. If you're unlucky, you've got another 30 years of this, and every single one of those years will hurt more than the last. Your wife is already awake. She's been awake since 3:30 because someone needs to get the household fire started, and apparently that someone is never you. She's making porridge. The breakfast of medieval champions. And by champions, I mean literally everyone, because porridge is cheap and filling and you can make it from oats that are only slightly suspicious. You eat, the porridge tastes like absolutely nothing. No salt, salt costs money. No honey, honey costs even more money. No cinnamon or sugar or any of those fancy spices that nobles put on their food. Just oats and water. Congratulations on your medieval breakfast experience. It's terrible. You eat it anyway because not eating means not having energy for 14 hours of hammering metal, and that's not optional. Your apprentice arrives at 4:30. His name is Thomas. He's 14 years old. He's been your apprentice for 2 years. He's catastrophically incompetent. Not because he's stupid. Because he's 14, and learning to work with metal that can literally kill you requires more than 2 years of experience. But his parents paid you good money to take him on, so now you're legally and morally obligated to teach him not to die while also actually running a functional business. Thomas is late. Again. It's 4:35. You're thinking about yelling at him. You're also thinking about how you were late constantly when you were an apprentice and your master beat you with a leather strap. You decide not to beat Thomas because, honestly, you're too tired, and also it's 4:35 in the morning and nobody has that kind of energy. The workshop is one room, 20 feet by 20 feet. Stone walls, dirt floor, one door, 2 windows with wooden shutters because glass is for rich people. The windows are currently closed because it's winter, and letting in cold air would be absolutely catastrophic for the approximately 0 heat you have right now. The forge is in the center. It's a brick structure about waist high, with a depression in the middle for the fire and a chimney going up through the roof. Technically, the chimney is supposed to vent the smoke outside. Practically, about 60% of the smoke goes up the chimney and 40% just fills your workshop. You've been breathing this for 15 years. Your lungs are very on brand for medieval industrial workers. Black, scarred, probably sentient at this point. Next to the forge is your anvil. 150 pounds of solid iron, mounted on a tree stump that's been driven into the dirt floor. This anvil cost more than your house. You inherited it from your master when he died. He inherited it from his master. This anvil is older than your grandfather. It's literally a family heirloom made of metal. You will die before this anvil does. The anvil will outlive your descendants. The anvil is eternal. Your tools hang on the walls. Hammers, tongs, chisels, punches, files. Dozens of specialized tools, each one made for a specific purpose. You made most of them yourself. Some you bought from other smiths. Each one represents hours of work or significant money. Losing a tool is a disaster. Breaking a tool is a catastrophe. You treat these tools better than you treat yourself. In the corner is your slack tub, a wooden barrel full of water. This is for quenching hot metal. The water is black. It hasn't been changed in a week. Something might be growing in it. You don't look too closely. Ignorance is bliss. The coal pile is against the back wall. You buy coal from a merchant who brings it in from Newcastle. Newcastle coal, the good stuff, burns hot, produces less smoke than charcoal. Still produces catastrophic amounts of smoke, just slightly less catastrophic than the alternative. You go through about 30 pounds of coal a day. That's 900 pounds a month. You spend more on coal than you spend on food. The economics are absolutely brutal. It's time to light the forge. This is Thomas's job. He's supposed to clear out yesterday's clinker, the solidified waste from burned coal, then build a new fire using kindling and small coal pieces, then gradually add larger coal until you have a sustainable fire hot enough to actually work with. Thomas is doing this wrong, obviously. He's piling on too much coal, too fast. The fire is going to smother itself. You watch this happening. You could intervene. You don't. He needs to learn. Also, you're still drinking your morning ale and it's too early for teaching moments. The fire smothers, goes out completely. Thomas looks at you with the expression of a puppy that just peed on the floor. You sigh. You put down your ale. You rebuild the fire yourself while explaining to Thomas exactly what he did wrong and exactly how he's supposed to do it correctly. You've explained this 17 times before. You'll explain it 17 more times. Eventually it'll stick. Probably. Maybe. Dream on. The fire catches. You start adding coal. The forge comes to life. Heat begins radiating outward. In summer, this heat is absolutely unbearable. In winter, it's almost pleasant for about 15 minutes until your workshop heats up to the temperature of a sauna and you remember that you're going to be standing next to this for the next 12 hours. Smoke starts rising. Some goes up the chimney, some doesn't. Your eyes water. You've developed a tolerance to this over 15 years, but tolerance doesn't mean immunity. It just means you're slightly less miserable than you would be otherwise. The smoke is acrid. It smells like burning coal and sulfur and regret. You're gonna smell like this all day. Your wife has given up on your clothing not smelling like a forge. You sleep in forge smell. You eat in forge smell. You exist permanently in forge smell. The light is dim. It's still dark outside. The only illumination is from the forge fire and one sad tallow candle that's giving off more smoke than light. Tallow candles, made from animal fat. They smell like burning meat. They produce black smoke. They're cheap. You burn through dozens of them a week because working in complete darkness is suboptimal for precision metalwork. Your first job today is finishing a set of hinges for a merchant store. You started these yesterday. They're almost done. Just need final shaping and hardening. Simple work. Bread and butter for a medieval blacksmith. Hinges, nails, door fittings, horseshoes. The exciting stuff that keeps you in business because people need these items constantly. You select an iron bar from your stockpile. Your iron comes from a merchant who imports it from the Forest of Dean. It arrives as bars called blooms. They're not pure iron. They're full of impurities and slag. Part of your job is working those impurities out through repeated heating and hammering. It's time-consuming. It's exhausting. It's necessary. You place the iron bar in the forge. The coal around it glows orange, then yellow, then white. The bar begins to heat. You're watching the color. This is how you judge temperature. No thermometers, no temperature gauges, just your eyeballs and 15 years of experience. You're looking for orange-red for basic shaping, yellow for welding, white for maximum malleability. Go too far, and the metal burns. Burns are permanent damage, ruined metal, wasted materials, lost money. The bar reaches orange-red. You pull it out with your tongs. The tongs are 3 feet long. They keep your hands away from the heat, not far enough away, but farther than 0 inches. Your hands are still going to get burned today, probably multiple times. It's not a question of if, it's a question of how many and how bad. You place the glowing metal on the anvil. You pick up your hammer, 4 pounds of steel on a wooden handle. You've been swinging this hammer for 15 years. Your right arm is noticeably larger than your left arm, very symmetrical, very balanced physique. You start hammering. The sound is catastrophic. Clang, 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 clang. Metal on metal, echoing off stone walls, bouncing around your skull. You're going to do this approximately 4,000 times today. 4,000 hammer strikes. Your ears are ringing constantly. You've had tinnitus since you were 16. The ringing never stops. Even when you sleep, there's a high-pitched whine in your ears. This is permanent damage. This is the cost of doing business. Sparks fly with each strike. Little bits of hot metal flying in every direction. Some land on your leather apron. Some land on your arms. Some land on your face. Each one burns. Tiny little burns. Dozens per day. Hundreds per week. Your arms look like someone used them for target practice with a tiny flaming arrow. These scars are permanent. You're covered in them. They're your professional credentials. They prove you're actually a blacksmith and not just some guy claiming to be one. Thomas is working the bellows. There's a leather bellows attached to the forge. Pumping it forces air into the fire, making it hotter. This is apprentice work. Mindless, exhausting, repetitive. Thomas pumps. The fire gets hotter. You work faster. The metal cools quickly once it's out of the forge. You have maybe 30 seconds of workable heat before you need to reheat it. 30 seconds. You make them count. The hinge is taking shape. You're forming the knuckle, the cylindrical part that holds the pin. This requires precision. The hole needs to be the right size. Too small, and the pin won't fit. Too large, and the hinge will be loose and useless. You're doing this by eye and by feel. No calipers, no measuring tools beyond a simple ruler. Just experience and hope. Back in the forge. Heat it again. Orange-red. Pull it out. Hammer. Shape. Refine. Back in the forge. This cycle repeats maybe 10 times per piece. Each heating uses coal. Each heating produces smoke. Each heating means more heat in an already hot workshop. 2 hours in, the workshop is unbearable. The temperature is approaching 90 degrees. It's winter outside. It's summer in here. You're sweating through your tunic. Your leather apron is soaked. The smoke is thick enough to make your eyes water continuously. You're coughing. Thomas is coughing. This is fine. Everything's fine. Just another day in medieval manufacturing. The hinge is done. You quench it in the slack tub. The water explodes into steam with a violent hiss. The steam is scalding hot. You pull your face back, but not fast enough. The steam catches your cheek. Another burn. You've stopped counting burns. They're just part of the landscape of your face now. 1 hinge down, 3 more to go. Then you have nails to make, then horseshoes. Then the guild inspector is coming by this afternoon to make sure you're following the 17,000 regulations. Then you have to deal with the merchant who commissioned the hinges and will inevitably try to negotiate the price down even though you agreed on a price 2 days ago. It's 6 in the morning. You've been working for 2 hours. You have 12 more hours to go. Your hands are already sore. Your back is already screaming. Your lungs are already full of smoke. Your ears are already ringing. Welcome to life as a medieval blacksmith. You're going to do this every single day for the next 20 years. Assuming you survive that long, the odds are not great. But at least you have a trade. At least you're not starving. At least you're not a peasant farming someone else's land. At least you have the forge, even if the forge is slowly destroying you. Let's talk about how you ended up in this smoke-filled nightmare of a profession. Spoiler, you didn't choose this. Your parents chose it for you when you were 11 years old. You had 0 input, 0 agency, 0 say in the matter. Very democratic, very empowering. The year is 1333. You're 11. You live in a tenement in Cheapside with your parents and 4 siblings in 2 rooms. Your father is a day laborer. Sometimes he has work, sometimes he doesn't. When he doesn't, the family doesn't eat. The economic stability is absolutely catastrophic. Your parents have 5 sons and daughters. They can't afford to feed 5 mouths. Honestly, they can't afford to feed 3. But medieval birth control is hope and pray, so here we are. They need to get rid of some of you. Not abandon you to the elements. Just redistribute you to people who can actually feed you. Very loving. Very parental. The options for an 11-year-old boy in 1333 London are limited. You could become a priest. That requires you to be literate and also willing to be celibate forever. You're 11 and can't read. Not it. You could try to get hired as a servant in a noble household. Competition for those positions is brutal, and also you'd be a servant, which is only marginally better than being a peasant. You could become a beggar. Your parents would prefer you not become a beggar. Or you could become an apprentice. This was the system of apprenticeship, the backbone of the medieval economy. You weren't just getting a job. You were becoming a legal contract between your father and a master of the Worshipful Company of Blacksmiths, one of London's most powerful craft guilds. An 11-year-old entering a grueling 7-year unpaid training program that will destroy your body before you turn 20. The system is catastrophic. The conditions are brutal. But it's legal. It's normal. It's how every single craft in medieval London operates. Your father knows a blacksmith, Master William, 52 years old, master of his craft for 25 years, member of the Blacksmiths Guild, owns his own shop, has a reputation for being fair but demanding, has a reputation for not beating his apprentices to death, which in 1333 is honestly a selling point. The bar is underground. Your father approaches Master William. Negotiations begin. This is a business transaction. Your parents are essentially selling you for 7 years. In exchange for 7 years of your labor, unpaid labor, completely free labor, Master William will teach you the craft of blacksmithing, provide you with food and shelter, and maybe not cause you permanent harm, probably. The cost to your parents, £12. £12. That's more money than your father earns in 2 years. Where do they get £12? They don't. They borrow it. From a moneylender, at interest rates that would make a modern loan shark blush. Your parents are now in debt for the next 5 years so that you can go work for free for 7 years. The mathematics are absolutely brutal. But it's worth it, because if you survive the apprenticeship, you'll have a trade. A real trade. A trade that earns actual money. You'll be able to support yourself. Maybe even support a family. Maybe even pay your parents back. Maybe... The contract is drawn up, witnessed by guild officials, legally binding. The terms are specific. You will serve Master William for 7 years. You will obey all instructions. You will not marry during your apprenticeship. You will not gamble. You will not frequent taverns. You will not fornicate. You will work from dawn to dusk, 6 days a week. You will attend church on Sundays. You will not run away. If you run away, your father owes Master William the entire £12 plus damages. If you die during your apprenticeship, your father still owes the £12. If you become disabled and can't work, your father still owes the £12. The contract is weighted heavily in favor of Master William. Your family has zero leverage. This is a take-it-or-leave-it situation. You take it. You move into Master William's workshop the next day. You're 11 years old. You've never been away from your family before. You're terrified. You're also excited because Master William's workshop has actual walls and an actual roof that doesn't leak. Your new home is a corner of the workshop. Not a room, a corner. You sleep on a straw pallet on the floor. The forge doesn't just smell like smoke. It smells like sulfur. Burnt horn from horses' hooves being fitted with shoes, and the metallic tang of hot iron that stays in the back of your throat for weeks. It's a sensory overload that eventually becomes your only reality. Still better than 5 people in 2 rooms with no sanitation, but only marginally. You share this space with Master William's other apprentice, Robert, who's 15 and has been here for 4 years already. Robert is not thrilled about having to share his space with an 11-year-old. Robert makes this clear through a series of increasingly creative insults about your size, your competence, and your family's poverty. Welcome to your new life. You're going to spend the next 7 years here. Every single day. No vacations. No days off except Sundays and holy days. No going home for visits because you live here now. This is home. Day 1. Master William wakes you at 4 in the morning by kicking your pallet. Very gentle, very nurturing. You stumble to your feet. Your job today, and every day for the foreseeable future, is not learning to be a blacksmith. Your job is being free labor. Sweep the workshop. Clear out the ashes from yesterday's forge. Haul in coal from the storage shed. Haul in water from the well 3 streets over. Prepare breakfast for Master William and his family. Serve breakfast. Clean up after breakfast. Feed the chickens in the yard. Collect eggs. Do literally every menial task that Master William doesn't want to do himself. You're thinking you signed up to learn blacksmithing? Wrong. Year 1 of apprenticeship is servant work. You're a servant who happens to live in a blacksmith's workshop. The actual blacksmithing? That comes later, maybe. If you survive the servant phase. Master William starts working the forge around 6. You watch him. You're not allowed to touch anything. You're not allowed to ask questions. You're allowed to watch and learn through observation. Very pedagogically sound, very modern educational theory. You watch him heat iron. You watch him hammer. You watch him shape metal into hinges, nails, door fittings, tools. You watch sparks fly. You watch him burn himself and not even flinch. You watch him work for 12 hours straight with breaks only for meals. The man is a machine, a smoke-breathing, hammer-swinging, burn-covered machine. Around noon, you serve dinner, medieval dinner, the main meal of the day. Bread, pottage, that's vegetable stew with maybe some meat if you're lucky. Ale. You eat with Master William, his wife, his son and daughter, and Robert. You get smaller portions than everyone else. You're the lowest ranking person at this table. The hierarchy is clear. After dinner, back to work. More coal hauling, more water hauling. The bellows need repair. Master William tells you to fix them. You've never repaired bellows before. You have no idea how bellows work. He doesn't explain, he just tells you to fix them and walks away. This is how you learn, through trial and error, mostly error. You spend 3 hours figuring out how the bellows work and attempting to sew the leather back together with a needle that's way too large and thread that keeps breaking. Your fingers are bleeding by the time you finish. The repair looks terrible. It works though, barely. Master William inspects it, grunts. No praise, no criticism. Just acknowledgement that you completed the task and didn't die. This counts as positive feedback. Evening. You're exhausted. You've been awake for 16 hours. You've eaten 2 meals that were mostly bread. Your hands hurt, your back hurts, your feet hurt. You're 11 years old and you feel 40. Master William is still working. He's finishing a commission, a decorative iron gate for a merchant's house, intricate scroll work, detailed patterns. This is skilled work. Master level work. You watch him create beauty from raw iron. It's actually impressive. For a moment, you remember why you're here. This is what you're going to learn. This craft, this skill, this ability to transform metal into art. Then Master William burns himself badly on a piece of hot iron. His hand slips, the iron falls, it lands on his boot, burns through the leather. He yells, actually yells, loud enough to wake neighboring houses and kicks the iron away. He grabs his foot. The burn is bad. You can see it from across the room. The skin is blistered and red and already starting to ooze. Master William's wife brings cold water, rags. She wraps his foot. He sits down. He's clearly in pain. He's also clearly going to keep working because the commission is due tomorrow, and if it's not finished, he doesn't get paid. He doesn't get paid, you don't eat. He stands up, limps back to the forge, continues working with a burned foot for another 3 hours. This is dedication. This is also catastrophically terrible workplace safety. This is your future. You're watching your future limp around the workshop with a burned foot because there's no such thing as workers' compensation or disability leave or basic human sympathy for workplace injuries. You go to sleep that night on your straw pallet. Your body hurts in places you didn't know could hurt. Your hands are blistered from hauling coal and water. Your lungs hurt from the smoke. Your head hurts from the constant noise. You're 11 years old. You have 6 years and 364 days left on your contract. Year 1 continues like this. Servant work, observation, occasional moments of actual instruction, usually delivered as criticism after you've done something wrong. Master William is not a teacher. He's a craftsman who tolerates your presence in exchange for free labor. The actual teaching is minimal. You learn through watching. You learn through making mistakes. You learn through getting yelled at when your mistakes cost money. You learn slowly. Painfully slowly, but you learn. Year 2, age 12. You're allowed to touch the tools now. Congratulations. Your first assignment, making nails. Nails are the simplest blacksmith product. Heat iron rod. Cut it to length. Hammer one end flat for the head. Hammer the other end to a point. Repeat approximately 5,000 times because people need a lot of nails. You're terrible at making nails. The heads are uneven, the points are crooked, the lengths are inconsistent. Master William inspects your first batch, 20 nails. 19 of them are unusable. He makes you melt them down and start over. This is your introduction to quality control. Every nail needs to be identical. Every nail needs to be functional. Bad nails don't sell. Bad nails mean wasted materials. Wasted materials mean lost money. Lost money means you don't eat. You make nails for 6 months. Thousands of nails. Your technique improves. Your hands develop calluses on top of calluses. Your arms get stronger. You're 12 years old with the arm muscles of someone twice your age. Very proportional. Very age-appropriate physical development. The burns start accumulating. Hot metal touches skin. Skin blisters. Blisters pop. Scars form. By the end of year 2, your hands look like a topographical map of a very unfortunate terrain. These scars are permanent. You're 12, and you're already marked for life. Year 3, age 13. You're promoted to bellows duty. This is actually an important job. The bellows control the fire temperature. Fire temperature determines whether the metal is workable. You pump the bellows while Master William works. You're learning to read the color of the metal. Orange-red for basic shaping, yellow for welding, white for maximum heat. This is knowledge. This is actual useful information that you'll need when you're a master yourself. You're also learning to recognize when Master William is about to mess up. His hand positioning is wrong. The metal is too hot. He's rushing. You learn to anticipate problems. You learn to have the water bucket ready. You learn to stay out of the way when things go catastrophically wrong. Things go catastrophically wrong frequently. Metalworking is dangerous. Metal is unpredictable. A piece that seems stable suddenly cracks. A tool breaks. A spark lands in the coal pile and starts a small fire. The forge gets too hot and the bricks start cracking. Every single day brings new disasters. Small disasters mostly. Occasionally large disasters that require actual problem solving and crisis management. Year 4, age 14. You're allowed to work the forge yourself now. Simple projects only. Horseshoes, door hinges, basic repairs. Master William supervises, criticizes, points out every flaw, every mistake, every imperfection. His teaching method is essentially do it wrong, get yelled at, figure out how to do it right. You burn yourself constantly. The tongs slip, your hand gets too close to the forge, sparks land on your arms, hot metal drops on your feet. You're accumulating injuries faster than you can heal them. Your body is a collection of burns in various stages of healing. Fresh burns, week-old burns, month-old burns, scars from burns that happened a year ago. You're 14 years old and you look like you've been in a war. You have been in a war. The war is against metal and heat and gravity and your own inexperience. Year 5, age 15. You're competent now. Not good. Competent. You can make basic items without supervision. Master William trusts you to complete simple commissions on your own. This is progress. This is also more work because now you're doing productive labor that generates income for Master William while still not getting paid yourself. Robert finishes his apprenticeship this year. 7 years complete. He's 19. He's survived. He's learned the trade. The guild examines his work. They approve his masterpiece, a decorative gate with intricate scrollwork that took him 3 months to complete. He's declared a journeyman, not a master yet. He needs more experience. But he's no longer an apprentice. He's free to leave. He's free to seek paid work. Robert leaves. You're alone now. The only apprentice. This means more responsibility. This also means more work. All the servant tasks that Robert used to share, those are yours now. All yours. Exclusively yours. You're back to hauling coal and water and serving meals on top of actual forge work. Master William takes on a new apprentice, a boy named Thomas. He's 11. He's terrified. He has no idea what he's gotten into. You remember being 11. You remember being terrified. You try to help Thomas. You explain things Master William doesn't bother explaining. You show him tricks for the bellows. You warn him about common mistakes. You're not kind about it because nobody was kind to you, but you're at least informative. Year 6, age 16. You're good now. Actually good. Your work is clean, precise, functional. You can make complex items. You can handle difficult commissions. Master William gives you more independence. This is both a blessing and a curse. Blessing because you're learning faster. Curse because you're working harder than ever with zero compensation. Your hearing is damaged. The constant hammering has created permanent ringing in your ears. Tinnitus. It never stops. Even in silence, there's noise. This is permanent. This is the cost of the craft. Everyone who works with metal has it. It's normal. It's expected. It's also terrible. Your lungs are damaged. Years of breathing smoke have left you with a chronic cough. You cough up black phlegm every morning. This is also normal, also expected. also terrible. Contemporary accounts from 14th century guild records note that respiratory illness was nearly universal among smiths. Every single one. The smoke doesn't care about your age or your experience or your dreams. The smoke just destroys your lungs, slowly and inevitably. Year 7, age 18. Your apprenticeship is almost complete. You've survived. Many don't. Apprentice mortality was significant. Burns, infections, respiratory failure, accidents. The work was dangerous. The conditions were brutal. People died. Young people died. You didn't die. Congratulations on your survival. The bar was literally just don't die and you cleared it. You begin work on your masterpiece. This is the piece you'll present to the guild to prove you've mastered the craft. You're making a complete set of tools. Hammer, tongs, chisel, punch, file. Each one must be perfectly crafted. Each one must demonstrate your skill. This is your final exam. Pass and you become a journeyman. Fail and you... Actually, failure isn't really an option. You've invested 7 years. Your parents invested £12 plus interest. Failure would be catastrophic. You work on your masterpiece for 3 months. Every piece must be perfect. Master William supervises but doesn't help. This is your work. Your demonstration of competence. Your proof that 7 years of unpaid labor and physical destruction actually taught you something valuable. The tools are finished. They're beautiful. The hammer is perfectly balanced. The tongs grip smoothly. The chisel is sharp and true. You're proud of this work. Actually proud. For the first time in 7 years, you've created something that's entirely yours. The guild examines your work. 5 master smiths. They inspect every detail. They test every tool. They discuss. They deliberate. This feels like it takes 17 hours. It actually takes 20 minutes. They approve. You pass. You're declared a journeyman blacksmith. Age 18. 7 years of apprenticeship complete. You're free. Except you're not free. You're trained. You have a skill. You have experience. What you don't have is money, tools, or a workshop. You can't become a master without those things. You need to work as a journeyman for several more years. Earning wages now, actual wages, but still working for someone else. Still building toward the day when you can afford your own shop, your own tools, your own independence. That takes 9 more years. 9 years of working for Master William and other smiths. 9 years of saving every penny. 9 years of living cheaply and denying yourself anything beyond basic necessities. 9 years of continued lung damage and accumulated burns and progressive hearing loss. But at age 27, you finally have enough. You buy a small workshop in Cheapside. You buy tools. You buy an anvil, that eternal anvil that will outlive you. You register with the guild as a master blacksmith. You're independent. You're your own master. And now here you are, age 27, running your own shop, teaching your own apprentice, repeating the same brutal cycle that nearly destroyed you, because this is how the system works. This is how it's always worked. This is how it will continue to work for centuries. You survived your apprenticeship. Thomas is surviving his. The cycle continues. The forge continues. The smoke continues. The burns continue. Welcome to the blacksmithing profession, where young people are called apprentices, where unpaid servitude is called education, and where destroying your body before age 30 is called mastering a craft. They were real people enduring this system. Real young people forced into brutal labor. Real families making impossible choices. The apprenticeship system provided opportunity, yes, but the cost was enormous. Physical destruction. Lost autonomy. Years of unpaid labor. They deserve our remembrance for surviving a system designed to extract maximum value from their bodies while they were still growing. The system was catastrophic, but they made it work. They survived. They learned. They built lives despite everything, and that's worth acknowledging. 4 a.m, every morning, for the rest of your life. There's no sleeping in. There's no weekends. There's no, I'm feeling tired today. Maybe I'll start at 4 a.m. That's when the day begins. That's when it's always begun. That's when it will always begin until you're physically incapable of getting out of bed, at which point you'll starve because no work equals no money equals no food. The rooster is your alarm clock, except unlike a modern alarm clock, you can't hit snooze, you can't turn it off, you can't throw it across the room. The rooster doesn't care about your feelings. The rooster has one job, and that job is yelling about the sun before the sun actually exists. Very helpful. You wake up. Your body protests. Everything hurts. Your back, your shoulders, your hands, your knees. You're 27 years old and you wake up like you're 70. The straw mattress has not helped. Sleeping on what is essentially organized grass for 15 years has done terrible things to your spine. Bioarchaeological analysis of medieval artisan skeletons reveals severe spinal compression and degenerative joint disease in individuals as young as 25. Your skeleton is already falling apart. You've got decades of this ahead of you. The vibes are catastrophic. Your wife is already awake. She's been awake since 3:30 lighting the household fire because someone needs to make breakfast, and apparently that someone is never you. Medieval gender roles, very progressive. Very equitable distribution of labor. You get dressed. Same clothes as yesterday. Same clothes as the day before. You own 2 tunics. One for work, one for church. The work tunic is leather and wool and so thoroughly saturated with forge smell that it's basically a wearable smoke cloud. You put it on, you immediately smell like a foundry. This is normal. This is your scent now. Your personal brand is industrial accident. Breakfast is porridge. Again. Always porridge. Oats and water. No sugar, no honey, no cinnamon, no flavor of any kind. Just the pure, unadulterated experience of eating hot grain paste. You eat it because not eating means collapsing at the forge around hour 8, and collapsing at the forge means falling into hot coals, and falling into hot coals means death. So you eat the flavorless grain paste, enthusiastically. Thomas arrives at 4:30, still late. He's been your apprentice for 2 years and he's still late. You were late constantly when you were an apprentice too, so you don't say anything. The cycle of mediocre timekeeping continues. 4:45. Time to light the forge. This is critical. The forge needs to reach working temperature before you can actually work. That takes time. Time is money. Every minute the forge isn't hot is a minute you're not producing anything. Not producing anything means not earning anything. The economics are relentless. Thomas builds the fire. He's gotten better at this, only smothers it about half the time now. Progress. When he does it right, the fire catches in about 10 minutes. When he does it wrong, you rebuild it yourself while he watches and presumably learns something. 5 a.m. The forge is hot. The workshop is warming up. The smoke is rising. Your day has officially begun. You have 12 hours of this ahead of you. 12 hours of standing. 12 hours of hammering. 12 hours of heat and smoke and sparks and noise. 12 hours of slowly destroying your body in exchange for money. Your first task today, finishing a commission. 6 horseshoes for a merchant's horse. Horseshoes are bread and butter work for a blacksmith. Consistent demand. Horses need shoes. Shoes wear out. New shoes needed. Repeat forever. It's not exciting work. It's not creative work, but it pays. Reliably. You select an iron bar from your stock. Newcastle iron. You buy it from a merchant who imports it from the north. It arrives as Bloom's chunks of iron mixed with slag and impurities. Part of your job is working those impurities out. You've been doing this for 15 years. You can tell good iron from bad iron by looking at it. This is good iron. Dense. Minimal slag. This will make good shoes. You place the bar in the forge. The coal glows orange, then yellow, then white hot. The bar begins to heat. You're watching the color, orange-red for shaping. That's what you need. The metal reaches temperature. You pull it out with your 3-foot tongs. The heat is immediate and overwhelming. Even 3 feet away, even with leather gloves, the radiant heat from white-hot metal is intense. Your face feels like it's sunburning. Your eyes water. The air around the metal shimmers. This is 2,000 degrees of iron. This is what you work with every single day. You place the glowing bar on your anvil. That eternal anvil. 150 pounds of iron that will outlive you and your descendants for generations to come. You pick up your hammer. 4 pounds of steel on a wooden handle. You've swung this hammer so many times that you've developed a callus on your callus. Your right forearm is noticeably larger than your left. Very symmetrical. You start hammering. Clang, 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 clang. The sound echoes off the stone walls, bounces around inside your skull. Your ears are already ringing. They ring constantly. Have rung constantly since you were 16. The ringing never stops. This is tinnitus. This is permanent auditory damage. This is the cost of working with metal. Each hammer strike flattens the iron slightly, spreads it, shapes it. You're forming the basic horseshoe shape, curved, open at one end. You work quickly, the metal cools fast. You have maybe 30 seconds of workable heat before it needs to go back in the forge. 30 seconds. You make them count. Sparks fly with every strike. Little bits of molten metal shooting in every direction. Some land on your leather apron, some land on your arms, some land on your face. Each one burns. Tiny little burns. You don't react anymore. You've been burned so many times that your pain tolerance is absolutely catastrophic. Small burns don't register. You only notice the big ones. The ones that blister immediately. The ones that smell like cooking meat. Back in the forge. Heat it again. Pull it out. Hammer. Shape. Refine. This cycle repeats 8 to 10 times per horseshoe. Each heating uses coal. Each heating produces smoke. Each heating adds to the temperature in an already hot workshop. It's 6 a.m. You've been working for an hour. The workshop temperature is approaching 80 degrees. It's November. It's cold outside. It's summer in here. You're already sweating through your tunic. The day has barely started. Thomas is working the bellows, pumping air into the forge to keep the fire hot. This is exhausting work, mindless, repetitive. His arms are going to be sore tomorrow. Your arms were sore for 7 years straight during your apprenticeship. You feel slightly bad for him. Slightly. Mostly you're focused on the horseshoe because if you mess this up, you waste materials, and wasted materials come out of your profit. The first horseshoe is taking shape. You're forming the nail holes now. 6 holes per shoe. Punch through with a hot punch, a pointed metal tool that you hammer through the hot iron. Each hole needs to be precisely placed. Too close to the edge and the shoe will crack. Too far in and the nail won't hold properly. You're doing this by eye? No measurements, no templates. Just 15 years of experience and muscle memory. Punch, hammer, punch, hammer. 6 holes. The horseshoe is done. You quench it in the slack tub. The water explodes into steam with a violent hiss. T-S-S-S-S-S-S-S-S. The sound is loud and violent and happens approximately 40 times a day. You've gotten used to it. Thomas flinches every single time. He'll get used to it eventually. Probably. 1 horseshoe down. 5 to go. Then you have hinges to make. Then nails. Then a poker for the baker 3 shops down. Then repairs on a cart axle. Your order queue is full. This is good. Full queue means steady work. Steady work means steady money. But it also means no breaks, no sitting down, no resting. Just continuous production from 5 a.m. until 5 p.m. 7 a.m. You finish 2 horseshoes, 4 to go. Your back is already complaining. Standing in one position for hours, leaning over the anvil, hammering creates incredible strain on your lower back. You shift your weight, adjust your stance. It helps for about 30 seconds. Then the pain returns. This is chronic. This is permanent. This is what happens when you do the same physical motion 4,000 times a day for 15 years. Your hands are sore. The hammer feels heavier than it did an hour ago. It's the same weight. Your muscles are just fatigued. You've got 10 more hours of this. Your arms will be screaming by the end of the day. Tomorrow morning they'll be stiff. By tomorrow afternoon they'll loosen up. By tomorrow evening they'll be screaming again. The cycle repeats, forever. 8 a.m. Breakfast, break. Finally. You've been working for 3 hours straight. You're allowed to stop and eat. Medieval labor law. Very generous, very worker-friendly. Breakfast is bread and ale. The bread is yesterday's bread. It's hard. You dip it in the ale to soften it. The ale is weak, small ale, they call it. Lower alcohol content than regular ale. You're not trying to get drunk at 8 a.m. You're trying to hydrate without drinking water from the Thames, which is essentially a flowing toilet. The ale is safer. Marginally. You eat standing up. There's no time to sit. You've got 4 horseshoes left, and the merchant wants them by this afternoon. Sitting means wasting time. Time is money. You eat fast. Thomas eats fast. You're both back at the forge within 10 minutes. 8:15 a.m. Back to work. Horseshoe 3. Heat, hammer, shape, punch, quench. The process is mechanical now, automatic. Your body knows what to do without your brain actively thinking about it. This is muscle memory. This is what 15 years of repetition creates. You could make a horseshoe in your sleep. You probably have made horseshoes in your sleep. Your dreams are full of hammering and fire. 9 a.m. Horseshoe 4 complete. You're making good time. The merchant is coming at 3 p.m. to collect these. You'll be done by noon. That leaves 3 hours for the other commissions. The hinges, the nails, the poker. The schedule is tight but manageable. The workshop is unbearably hot now. The temperature is easily 90 degrees. You're soaked with sweat. Your leather apron is wet. Your face is dripping. There's no ventilation beyond the chimney and the 2 windows. And the windows are small, and the chimney only vents about 60% of the smoke. The other 40% just hangs in the air, creating a permanent haze that makes your eyes water and your lungs burn. You're coughing. You cough constantly. Everyone who works with metal coughs constantly. The smoke does this. Years of inhaling coal, smoke, and metal particles destroy your lungs slowly and thoroughly. You cough up black phlegm every morning. This is normal. This is expected. This is the cost of the craft. 10 a.m. Horseshoe 5. Your rhythm is consistent. Heat, hammer, shape, punch, quench. Heat, hammer, shape, punch, quench. Over and over. The repetition is almost meditative. Almost. Except for the heat and the smoke and the noise and the pain. A customer arrives. A woman from 2 streets over. Her cooking pot has a crack. Can you fix it? You can. You will. After the horseshoes, after the hinges, after the nails, after the poker. Her pot goes on the queue. She's not happy about the wait. You don't care. You have 17 other things to make. Her pot will get done when it gets done. 11 a.m. Horseshoe 6. The final one. You're tired now. Actually tired. You've been standing and hammering for 6 hours straight with 1 10-minute break. Your back is screaming. Your shoulders are burning. Your hands are cramping. The hammer feels like it weighs 40 pounds instead of 4. But you push through. Because stopping means not finishing. Not finishing means not getting paid. Not getting paid means not eating. The motivation is clear and immediate. You finish the horseshoe. Quench it. The steam rises. 6 horseshoes complete. You line them up on your workbench. They're good. Clean work. Even holes. Proper curve. The merchant will be satisfied. Probably. Noon. Dinner time. The main meal of the day. Your wife brings food from the house. Pottage. Vegetable stew with some chunks of pork. Bread. More ale. You sit down for the first time all day. Your back cracks in 3 places when you bend. Very concerning sounds from your skeleton. You eat. The pottage is warm and filling and tastes like absolutely nothing because medieval seasoning is salt if you can afford it. You can't afford it today. So it's just vegetables and pork and water. You eat it anyway. You're hungry. You've been burning calories at an insane rate. Hammering metal for 6 hours is a full-body workout. You need fuel. Thomas eats with you. You're training him, so you're responsible for feeding him. He gets the same portions you get. This is generous. Some masters feed their apprentices less. You remember being hungry constantly during your apprenticeship. You don't want Thomas to experience that, mostly because a hungry apprentice works slower, and slow work costs you money. 12:30 p.m. Back to work. You've got 4.5 hours until the workday ends. You've got hinges to make, 3 sets of door hinges for a merchant's warehouse. This is more complex work than horseshoes. Hinges require precision. The knuckle needs to be perfectly cylindrical. The pinhole needs to be exact. Too loose and the hinge wobbles. Too tight and it doesn't move. This is skilled work. You start on the first hinge, heat the iron bar, hammer it flat, form the basic shape, create the knuckle by wrapping the hot iron around a cylindrical mandrel, punch the hole for the pin. This takes longer than a horseshoe. More heating cycles, more precision hammering, more opportunities to mess it up. 1 p.m., first hinge complete, 2 to go. Then you need to make the pins that hold the hinges together. Small but critical. Wrong diameter and the whole hinge is useless. 2 p.m., second hinge done. You're making good time, but you're exhausted. 9 hours of work. Your body is done. Your brain is getting foggy. This is when mistakes happen. When you're tired and rushing and not paying full attention. This is when you burn yourself badly. This is when you ruin a piece and have to start over. You slow down. Force yourself to focus. Better to work carefully and finish late than to work fast and waste materials. 3 p.m. The merchant arrives for his horseshoes. You show him the completed set. He inspects them closely, looking for flaws, looking for reasons to negotiate the price down even though you agreed on a price 3 days ago. This is normal. Everyone tries to negotiate. Everyone tries to pay less. He finds nothing wrong. The horseshoes are good. He pays you 1 shilling 6pence. This is fair pay for 6 horseshoes. You take the money, put it in your strongbox, lock it. The strongbox is hidden under a loose floorboard. You don't trust anyone. Theft is common. Money disappears. You protect your earnings obsessively. 3:15 p.m. Back to the third hinge. You're running behind schedule now. The transaction with the merchant took 15 minutes. That's 15 minutes you're not producing, but you needed that money, so it was worth it. 4 p.m. Third hinge complete. Pins made. Hinges assembled and tested. They work. Smooth movement, no wobble. Good work. These go on the completed pile. The merchant will collect them tomorrow. 4:30 p.m. You start on the nails. The baker needs 20 nails for repairs. Nails are quick work. You can make a nail in about 3 minutes. 20 nails, 1 hour. You'll finish right at closing. 5 p.m. The nails are done. 20 identical nails. Pointed ends. Flat heads. Consistent length. You're cooked. Absolutely exhausted. 10 hours of continuous work. 4,000 hammer strikes. Countless trips to the forge and back. Your body is screaming. Every muscle hurts. Every joint aches. Your hands are cramping so badly you can barely open them. But you're done. The workday is complete. You bank the forge fire, reduce it to coals so you can restart it easily tomorrow morning. You put away your tools. You sweep the floor. You send Thomas home. The workshop falls quiet. The silence is almost shocking after 10 hours of continuous noise. Your ears are ringing so loudly that the silence isn't actually silent. But it's quieter than the hammering. That's something. You go inside. Your house, 15 feet from the workshop. You smell like smoke and metal and sweat. You're covered in soot. Your wife doesn't comment. She's used to this. This is what you look like every single day. Supper is bread and cheese. Light meal. You're too tired to eat much anyway. You sit at the table. Your son and daughter are there. 2 of them, a boy age 5 and a girl age 3. They're eating, making noise, being young. You're too exhausted to engage. You just sit there, existing, recovering. 6 p.m., bed. You're going to bed at 6 p.m. because you need to wake up at 4 a.m. and you need whatever sleep you can get. Sleep is recovery. Sleep is the only thing that keeps your body functional enough to do this again tomorrow. You lie down on the straw mattress. Your body is one continuous ache. You're 27 years old. You feel 60. Tomorrow you'll wake up and do this all again, and the day after that, and the day after that, for the next 20 years minimum. This is your life. This is your daily routine. 4 a.m. to 5 p.m., 12 hours, 6 days a week, 52 weeks a year, every year until you physically can't do it anymore. Welcome to daily life as a medieval blacksmith, where every single day is identical, brutal, and absolutely relentless. Let's talk about what's actively trying to end you on a daily basis, because medieval blacksmithing isn't just hard work. It's hard work in an environment specifically designed to cause maximum physical damage. The heat is unbearable. The smoke is toxic. The burns are constant. And there's absolutely nothing you can do about any of it except endure. The heat comes first. Always the heat. Your forge burns at approximately 2,000 degrees Fahrenheit when you're working iron. That's hot enough to melt metal. Hot enough to turn solid iron into a glowing, malleable substance that you can shape with a hammer. Hot enough to cause third-degree burns instantly if you touch it. Hot enough to radiate heat in a 15-foot radius that makes standing near it feel like standing inside an oven. You stand next to this forge for 12 hours a day. 12 hours of radiant heat blasting your face, your arms, your entire body. In summer, the workshop temperature regularly exceeds 110 degrees. 110. You're working in conditions that would violate approximately 17 OSHA regulations if OSHA existed, which it doesn't and won't for another 600 years. There's no air conditioning. Never heard of her. There's no ventilation beyond 2 small windows and a chimney that only works when the wind cooperates. There's no cooling system, no fans, no ice, no relief. Just heat. Constant, oppressive, physically damaging heat. Your body tries to cope through sweating. You sweat constantly. Gallons of sweat per day. You're losing fluids faster than you can replace them. Dehydration is a daily occurrence. You drink ale constantly, not to get drunk, but because drinking water from medieval London sources is essentially asking for dysentery. The ale is safer. The ale is also warm, because refrigeration is a concept that won't exist for centuries. The heat does things to your body. Long-term heat exposure causes cardiovascular stress. Your heart has to work harder to cool you down. Your blood pressure increases. You develop heat exhaustion regularly. Dizziness, nausea, headaches, muscle cramps. This is normal. This is every day. This is just the cost of working next to a 2,000-degree fire for 12 hours. In winter, the heat is almost pleasant, for about 15 minutes. Then the workshop heats up to 85 degrees while it's 30 degrees outside, and you're simultaneously too hot from the forge and too cold from the draft coming through gaps in the walls. The temperature regulation is absolutely catastrophic. You can't win, ever. Your clothing doesn't help. You wear wool and leather because that's what's available and affordable. Wool in a 110-degree workshop. The wool is soaked with sweat within an hour. It stays wet all day. Wet wool smells terrible. You smell terrible. Everyone who works with metal smells terrible. This is unavoidable. Bathing is a once-a-week event if you're lucky, usually less. You just exist in a permanent state of being covered in sweat and soot and smoke residue. The smoke is worse than the heat. Coal smoke. Constant, thick, acrid coal smoke. You're burning approximately 30 pounds of coal per day. That's 900 pounds per month. All of it turning into smoke. Some of it goes up the chimney. Most of it doesn't. Most of it just hangs in the air inside your workshop, creating a permanent haze that makes visibility poor and breathing difficult. The smoke contains sulfur, carbon monoxide, particulate matter, all the things that modern environmental regulations would classify as hazardous air pollutants. You're breathing this all day, every day, for 15 years so far. You'll breathe it for another 20 years minimum. Your lungs are destroyed. Completely destroyed. You cough constantly. A deep, wet cough that brings up black phlegm. The phlegm is actually black, not dark, black. Your lungs are ejecting coal particles and soot that have embedded themselves in your lung tissue. This is chronic obstructive pulmonary disease. This is what eventually ends most blacksmiths. Not the burns, not the accidents, the smoke, the relentless, unavoidable, toxic smoke. You can't breathe deeply anymore. Physical exertion makes you wheeze. Going upstairs makes you short of breath. You're 27 years old with the lung capacity of someone twice your age. This will only get worse. Every day of smoke exposure makes it worse. There's no cure. There's no treatment. There's barely even acknowledgement that this is a problem because everyone who works with metal has the same symptoms. It's normal, expected, universal. Your eyes water constantly from the smoke. The irritation is permanent. You blink constantly. Sometimes your eyes get so irritated they crust shut overnight. You wake up and have to wash the crust away before you can fully open your eyes. Very pleasant. Very dignified way to start your day. The smoke also contains metal particles, tiny fragments of iron that vaporize when the metal gets hot enough. You're breathing iron, literally inhaling metal. These particles lodge in your lungs, permanently. There's no way to remove them. They just stay there, accumulating, year after year, creating scar tissue, reducing lung function, contributing to the chronic cough that will follow you to your grave. But you can't stop. Stopping means the forge cools. The forge cools means you can't work. You can't work means you don't earn money. So you breathe the smoke. You cough. You wheeze. You accept that your lungs are being slowly destroyed because the alternative is starvation. The burns are inevitable. Not occasional. Inevitable. You will be burned today. You will be burned tomorrow. You will be burned every single day for the rest of your career. The only question is how many burns and how severe. Small burns happen constantly. Hot metal touches skin, skin blisters instantly. The blister pops, the wound weeps. Eventually it scabs over. Eventually it scars. You have hundreds of these scars. Your hands look like a war zone. Your arms look like a topographical map of a volcanic region. These scars are permanent. They're your professional credentials. They prove you're actually a blacksmith and not just someone who claims to be one. The small burns stop hurting after a while. Not because they heal, because your pain tolerance has increased to absolutely catastrophic levels. Your nerve endings have been damaged so many times that they just don't register small burns anymore. You only notice when the burn is big, when it's serious, when it's going to leave a major scar or cause actual tissue damage. The big burns happen regularly, once a month maybe, sometimes more. A piece of hot metal falls on your foot, burns through your leather boot. 3rd-degree burn. The skin is white and waxy. It doesn't hurt at first, that's how bad it is. The nerve endings are completely destroyed. It will hurt later, a lot, for weeks. A spark lands in your eye. Your eye waters violently, trying to flush it out. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes the spark embeds itself in your cornea, and you have to have someone, usually your wife, definitely not a doctor because doctors are expensive, try to remove it with a needle, while your eye is open, while you're conscious. This is medieval ophthalmology. It's terrible. Your hands slip on the tongs. The hot iron falls. You instinctively try to catch it. Terrible decision. You catch 2 pounds of glowing orange metal with your bare hand. The pain is immediate and spectacular. You drop it. Obviously, the damage is done. Your palm is burned. Badly. Deep tissue burn. This will blister. The blister will pop. The wound will get infected because wound care is wash it with water and hope. The infection will make you feverish. You'll work through the fever because not working means not eating. The burn will eventually heal, but the scar will be permanent, and your hand will hurt every time the weather changes for the rest of your life. You burn yourself on the anvil. The anvil itself gets hot from repeated contact with hot metal. You lean against it without thinking. Your forearm touches the hot iron surface. Instant burn. A perfect rectangular brand on your arm. This scar will be visible forever. People will ask about it. You'll say forge work, and they'll nod, because everyone knows blacksmiths are covered in burns. Hot metal drops on your foot, on your leg, on your chest. The sparks are everywhere. Each hammer strike sends dozens of tiny molten metal particles flying. Most hit your leather apron, some don't. Some land on exposed skin. Each one is a tiny burn. Dozens per day, hundreds per week, thousands per year. Your body is accumulating burn scars faster than it can heal them. There's no burn treatment. Not really. Cold water helps, temporarily. You plunge the burned area into the slack tub, the same water you quench hot metal in, so it's not clean. So you're immediately introducing contamination into an open wound, and the cold water provides maybe 30 seconds of relief. Then the pain returns. Worse than before because now the burn is cold and wet and exposed to air. Your wife has remedies. Honey on burns, herbs, poultices made from plants. Do they work? Who knows? Probably not. But they make her feel helpful and they give you something to focus on besides the pain. So you accept the honey and the herbs and you wrap the burn in cloth and you go back to work the next day because the forge doesn't care about your injuries. The burns get infected. Frequently, you're working in a dirty environment. The workshop is covered in soot and coal, dust and metal filings. The air is full of particles. Your tools are dirty. Your hands are dirty. Everything is dirty. You get a burn. The burn is an open wound. The open wound is exposed to a contaminated environment. Infection is almost guaranteed. The infected burns are the dangerous ones. The skin around the burn gets red, hot to the touch. The wound starts oozing pus, yellow, thick pus that smells terrible. This is your body trying to fight the infection. Sometimes it wins, sometimes it doesn't. If the infection spreads, if you develop red streaks running up your arm from the burn site, that's blood poisoning. That's potentially fatal. That's a situation where you might actually need to see a doctor, except doctors are expensive and might just bleed you, which won't help. So mostly you just hope your body fights it off. Most of the time your body does fight it off. You're young, relatively healthy despite the lung damage. Your immune system works, the infection clears, the wound heals, slowly, painfully, but it heals. Eventually, the burns that don't heal are the problem. Deep burns, burns that destroy multiple layers of skin, burns that damage underlying tissue. These wounds don't close properly. They weep constantly. They're vulnerable to repeated infection. They form thick, ropey scars that pull the skin tight and limit mobility. Your hands develop contractures, permanent curling of fingers because the burn scars have tightened the skin so much that you can't fully extend them anymore. This affects your work. Your grip isn't as strong. Your dexterity is reduced, but you adapt. You learn to work with limited mobility because the alternative is not working. The cumulative damage is staggering. 15 years of heat exposure, 15 years of smoke inhalation, 15 years of daily burns. Your body is falling apart. You're 27 years old and you're already dealing with chronic pain, reduced lung function, permanent scarring, and progressive disability. And you've got 20 more years of this ahead of you. Minimum. Probably 30 if you're unlucky enough to live that long. The heat will continue. The smoke will continue. The burns will continue. Every single day. Until your body physically cannot do this anymore. Until the lung damage is so severe you can't breathe well enough to work. Until the burns and the scars and the pain make it impossible to swing a hammer. Until you're forced to retire, not because you want to, but because your body has given up. These were real people enduring this, real bodies being destroyed by their profession. The heat wasn't optional, the smoke wasn't optional, the burns weren't optional. They were built into the job, unavoidable, expected, normal. They worked despite the pain, despite the injuries, despite the progressive physical destruction, because feeding their families mattered more than protecting their bodies. Because there was no workers' compensation, no disability benefits, no safety net. You worked until you couldn't, and then you hoped your sons and daughters could support you. The blacksmiths of medieval London deserve our remembrance. They created the tools that built the city. The nails, the hinges, the horseshoes, the gates. All while slowly suffocating on coal smoke and accumulating burns that would make modern people pass out from shock. The system was brutal. The conditions were catastrophic. But they endured. That's worth acknowledging. You thought running your own shop meant independence, freedom, being your own master. Wrong. You're a master blacksmith, yes. You own your workshop. You control your schedule. But you're not truly independent, because hovering over every single thing you do is the worshipful company of blacksmiths, the guild, your professional organization, your regulatory body, your corporate overlords who have 17,000 rules about how you're allowed to do your job. The guild controls everything. What you can make, what you can charge, who you can hire, who you can train, what materials you can use, what quality standards you must meet, when you can work, where you can work, how you advertise, everything. Every single aspect of your professional life is regulated by a group of old men who meet in a hall in the city and decide the rules for everyone. You pay dues. Of course you pay dues. Annual membership fees. You're paying for the privilege of being allowed to work in your own profession, in your own city. The dues are substantial. 2 shillings per year. That's 2 days of income. Gone. Just for the right to exist as a blacksmith in London. But the dues are mandatory. Don't pay, you lose your guild membership. Lose your guild membership? You're not allowed to practice blacksmithing in London. You can't sell your goods. You can't take commissions. You're shut down. Immediately. The guild has the legal authority to close your shop and confiscate your tools, so you pay the dues, everyone pays the dues. It's not optional. What do you get for your dues? Protection. Theoretically. The guild is supposed to protect its members from unfair competition, supposed to maintain quality standards, supposed to ensure that only trained craftsmen can practice the trade, supposed to prevent merchants from importing cheap foreign goods that undercut local prices. Does the guild actually do these things? Sometimes, when it's convenient, when it benefits the senior guild members. The guild is run by the wealthiest, most established blacksmiths in London. The ones with multiple shops, the ones with political connections, the ones who've been masters for 30 years. They make the rules. They enforce the rules. The rules tend to benefit them more than they benefit you. The quality regulations are extensive. Every piece you make must meet guild standards. The iron must be pure, the workmanship must be excellent, the dimensions must be precise. This sounds reasonable until you realize that guild standards are determined by senior guild members who inspect your work and decide whether it's good enough. Subjective. Completely subjective. Your work might be excellent by objective standards, but if the inspector decides it's not up to par, you're fined. The fine goes to the guild treasury, which is controlled by the senior members, who benefit from collecting fines. The incentive structure is absolutely terrible. The inspectors come by randomly. No warning, no schedule, just sudden appearance at your workshop door demanding to examine your inventory. You have to stop working. Show them everything. Every piece in progress, every completed commission, every tool. They inspect it all, looking for violations, looking for reasons to fine you. Too much slag in the iron? Fine. 1 shilling. Nail heads not perfectly uniform? Fine. 6pence. Using coal from a non-approved supplier? Fine. 2 shillings. Workshop not clean enough? Fine. 1 shilling. Apprentice working without proper supervision? Fine. 18 pence? The fines add up. Fast. You can be fined multiple shillings in a single inspection. That's a week's income. Gone. Because an inspector decided your nail heads weren't uniform enough or your workshop floor wasn't swept to his satisfaction. You can't argue. Arguing with a guild inspector is itself a violation. Disrespecting guild authority. That's another fine. 2 shillings minimum, plus possible suspension of your license. So you stay quiet. You accept the fines. You pay them. You go back to work. The price regulations are worse. The guild sets maximum prices for common goods. Horseshoes can't cost more than 3 pence each. Door hinges can't cost more than 6 pence per pair. Nails are capped at a farthing for 10. These prices are fixed. You can't charge more even if your costs increase, even if iron prices go up, even if coal prices go up. The maximum price stays the same. But there's no minimum price. You can charge less if you want, if you're desperate for business, If you need money immediately, the guild doesn't care if you undercut yourself. They only care if you charge too much. The asymmetry is spectacular. Rich customers know this. They know you can't charge above the maximum, so they negotiate. Hard. The guild says horseshoes are 3 pence maximum. I'll give you 2 pence. You need the business. You accept 2 pence. You've just worked for 33% less than maximum allowed. The guild doesn't protect you from this. The regulations only limit your upside, never your downside. Custom work, decorative pieces, specialized tools, unique commissions, those don't have fixed prices. You can charge what you want, in theory. In practice, if the guild decides your price is excessive, they can fine you for price gouging. What's excessive? Whatever the inspector decides, subjective, arbitrary, designed to keep you compliant. The apprenticeship regulations are strict. You can only have 2 apprentices at a time. Maximum 2. Even if you have enough work for 5, even if you could afford to train 5, 2 is the limit. This keeps the supply of trained blacksmiths artificially low, which keeps wages higher for existing blacksmiths, which benefits the senior guild members who are already established. You have to register every apprentice with the guild. Pay a registration fee, £1 per apprentice. That's a huge sum. That's 2 weeks of income. You paid this when you registered Thomas. You'll pay it again when you take on your next apprentice. The guild collects these fees. The guild gets rich. You get permission to train someone. The apprenticeship must last 7 years. Minimum. Not 6, not 5, 7. This is non-negotiable. Even if an apprentice learns faster, even if they're competent after 5 years. 7 years is required. Why? Because the guild says so. Because keeping apprentices in training longer keeps them out of the labor market longer, which maintains the scarcity of qualified blacksmiths, which keeps your wages higher. The system is designed to restrict supply. You can't train anyone who isn't formally registered. Teaching blacksmithing to an unregistered person is a massive violation. Unlawfully conveying trade secrets. The fine is £5. £5. That's 2 months of income, plus possible expulsion from the guild. So if someone asks you to teach them informally, you refuse, always. The risk is catastrophic. The working hours are regulated. You can work from dawn to dusk, no earlier, no later. Working before dawn, that's disturbing the peace. Fine. Working after dusk, that's unfair competitive advantage. Fine. The guild wants everyone working the same hours. Equal competition. No one gets ahead by working longer. Except the rich guild members have multiple shops, multiple forges, multiple apprentices across multiple locations. They're not working longer hours. They're working more locations simultaneously. The regulations don't limit that. Just individual shop hours. The loophole is obvious. The senior members exploit it. You can't. Sundays and holy days are mandatory rest days. You can't work. The forge must be cold. The shop must be closed. This is enforced by both the guild and the church. Get caught working on Sunday? That's a fine from the guild and a penance from the church. Double punishment. Not worth it. There are approximately 40 holy days per year. 40, plus 52 Sundays. That's 92 days you're not allowed to work. 25% of the year. Mandatory unpaid time off. You're not earning money on these days, but your costs don't stop. Your rent doesn't stop. Your need to eat doesn't stop. You just have to absorb 92 days of lost income and hope you've saved enough to survive them. The guild meetings are mandatory. Once per month. You have to attend. It's required. Missing a meeting without approved excuse? Fine. 1 shilling. The meetings are held at the guild hall. In the evening, after you've worked 12 hours, you're exhausted. You don't want to go. You go anyway because the fine is worse than the inconvenience. The meetings are boring. Spectacularly boring. Reading of minutes. Discussion of regulations. Proposals for new regulations. Voting on things that will inevitably benefit senior members more than you. You sit there. You stay awake. Barely. You vote when required. You leave as soon as it's over. This is 3 hours of your life you'll never get back, every month, for the rest of your career. The guild also requires you to participate in civic ceremonies, processions, festivals, royal visits. When the king comes to London, the guilds turn out in their finest to display their crafts. You have to be there, in your best clothes, which you had to buy specifically for guild events because your work clothes are smoke-saturated disasters, carrying examples of your best work, standing for hours while nobles parade past. This is unpaid, obviously. You're not working, you're not earning, you're just standing there being decorative so the guild looks impressive to visiting dignitaries. But it's mandatory. Skip it? Fine. Plus social consequences. The other guild members notice. The senior members notice. Your reputation suffers. Future opportunities disappear. So you participate. The guild feast happens twice per year. These are expensive. You have to contribute to the feast costs. 2 shillings per feast. 4 shillings per year, just for mandatory party attendance. The feast is theoretically a celebration, a chance for guild members to socialize. In practice, it's several hours of eating mediocre food while senior members give speeches about guild traditions, and the younger members try to stay awake. You have to attend. Both feasts. Every year. Miss one? Fine. Plus you've offended people. Plus you look like you don't respect guild traditions. The social pressure is intense. So you go. You eat the mediocre food. You listen to the speeches. You make small talk with other blacksmiths who are equally tired and equally annoyed at having to be there. Then you go home. Another evening wasted on mandatory professional socializing. The guild enforces a monopoly. Only guild members can practice blacksmithing in London. Only guild-approved apprentices can train. Only guild-registered journeymen can work. This sounds protective until you realize it's restrictive. New people can't enter the profession easily. Innovation is discouraged. Change is resisted. The guild wants things done the way they've always been done. Suggest a new technique? The guild is skeptical. That's not how we've traditionally done things. Use a new tool design? The guild wants to inspect it. Make sure it meets standards. Standards that are based on traditional tools. Your innovation is viewed with suspicion. Import iron from a new supplier with better quality and lower prices? The guild investigates. Are they an approved supplier? No? Then you can't use them. You have to use approved suppliers. Even if they're more expensive. Even if the quality is worse. The guild has relationships with certain merchants. Those relationships are protected. Your cost savings are not. The guild also has political power. Significant political power. They lobby the city government. They influence regulations. They protect their interests, which are not necessarily your interests. The senior guild members want to maintain their dominance. They want high barriers to entry. They want restricted competition. They get what they want because they have money and connections and political influence. You don't have those things. You're a working blacksmith. You make things. You don't have time for politics. You don't have money for bribes, sorry, gifts to city officials. You don't have connections. So the guild regulations that get passed tend to help the wealthy established masters and mostly just create more costs and restrictions for you. But you can't leave the guild. Leaving means losing your license, losing your ability to work in London. You'd have to move to another city, start over, build a new reputation, find new customers. That's assuming the guild in the new city would accept you, which they might not. Guilds talk to each other. A blacksmith who left their guild in bad standing, other guilds won't want them. So you stay, you pay your dues. You follow the rules, you attend the meetings, you participate in the ceremonies, you accept the fines when the inspector decides your work isn't perfect. You accept the price caps that limit your earnings. You work within the system because outside the system means not working at all. The guild provides some benefits. Training standards mean customers trust guild blacksmiths. Quality control means reputation is maintained. Monopoly protection means foreign competition is limited. These benefits exist. They're real. They're just not worth what you're paying for them. Historical records from 14th century guild documents show that enforcement was strict and fines were common. The guild treasury grew substantially from collected fines. The senior members controlled the treasury. The money went toward guild hall maintenance, feast expenses, and administrative costs that primarily benefited those same senior members. The system was designed to extract money from working craftsmen and concentrate it in the hands of guild leadership. It worked. It worked for centuries. It's still working now, in 1345. It'll keep working for another 200 years. You're trapped in a regulatory system that costs you money, restricts your freedom, and primarily benefits people who aren't you. But it's the only system. There's no alternative. No competing organization. No way out except leaving the profession entirely. Welcome to medieval professional regulation, where your professional organization exists less to help you and more to control you, where following the rules costs money, where breaking the rules costs more money, where the rules are made by people whose interests don't align with yours. The guild members deserve our understanding. They were trying to maintain quality and protect their livelihoods in an economy with no consumer protection laws and no standardization. The regulations made sense from that perspective, but the system was also corrupt, expensive, and restrictive in ways that hurt the very craftsmen it claimed to protect. They worked within it anyway. They paid the dues. They followed the rules. They built their careers inside a system designed to limit them, because the alternative was not working at all. That's worth acknowledging. Let's talk about money. Because all the forge work, all the burns, all the smoke inhalation, it's all in service of earning a living, and the economics of medieval blacksmithing are absolutely brutal. You work 12 hours a day, 6 days a week, destroying your body, and the profit margins are razor thin. 1 bad month, and you're in debt. 2 bad months, and you're potentially losing your shop. Your income is inconsistent. Wildly inconsistent. Some weeks you have more commissions than you can handle. Other weeks you're sitting in your workshop with nothing to do, watching your coal supply dwindle while no money comes in. There's no steady paycheck, no salary, no guaranteed income. Just whatever you can earn from whatever customers happen to need, whatever you happen to make. A good week, you earn 8 shillings. That's 40 horseshoes, or 20 sets of hinges, or 200 nails, or some combination thereof. 8 shillings is excellent. 8 shillings means you can pay your costs, feed your family, save a little for the inevitable bad weeks. 8 shillings feels like success. A bad week. You earn 2 shillings. 1 small commission. Maybe some repair work. Not enough. Nowhere near enough. 2 shillings doesn't cover your costs. Your coal alone costs 6 pence per week. Your rent is 1 shilling per month. Your food costs 4 pence per week. Guild dues, iron purchases, tool maintenance, apprentice feeding, it all adds up. 2 shillings is a disaster. The average week. Somewhere between 4 and 6 shillings. Enough to survive, not enough to thrive. You're covering costs, barely. You're feeding your family, adequately. You're maintaining your workshop, minimally. You're not saving much. You're not getting ahead. You're just existing. Week after week, month after month, year after year. Your costs are fixed. Your income is variable. This is a terrible combination. The coal costs 6 pence per week, whether you're working constantly or sitting idle. The rent costs 1 shilling per month, whether you have customers or not. Your family needs to eat, whether you're earning or not. The expenses continue regardless of your income. Iron is expensive, catastrophically expensive. You buy it by the bloom, roughly 40 pounds of iron mixed with slag and impurities. 1 bloom costs 3 shillings. 3 shillings. That's half a good week's income spent on raw materials. And you need approximately 1 bloom per month. That's 3 shillings per month just for iron, 36 shillings per year. That's 9 weeks of good income spent entirely on raw materials. Coal is expensive. You burn 30 pounds per day. That's 210 pounds per week. At current prices, that's 6 pence per week. 2 shillings per month, 24 shillings per year. That's 6 weeks of good income spent entirely on fuel. Rent is 1 shilling per month. 12 shillings per year, 3 weeks of good income. Guild dues are 2 shillings per year, half a week of good income. Food costs approximately 16 pence per week for a family of 4. That's 5 shillings 8 pence per month, 68 shillings per year, 17 weeks of good income. Add it all up, 140 shillings per year in fixed costs. That's 35 weeks of good income. You work 52 weeks per year. 35 of those weeks, 67% of your income goes to fixed costs before you've purchased a single tool, replaced a single worn item, or saved anything for emergencies. The math is absolutely brutal. You're working constantly just to break even, and that's assuming every week is a good week, which they're not. Factor in the bad weeks and the math gets worse. Your customers are a nightmare. Some are reasonable, some pay on time. Some respect your work and your prices. These customers are rare. Treasure them. They're the exception. Most customers are terrible. They negotiate aggressively, they dispute prices, they claim your work is substandard when it's perfectly fine, they delay payment, they try to get discounts. They ask for rush jobs but don't want to pay rush prices. They complain about guild maximum prices when those prices are already low. They're exhausting to deal with. Example customer interaction. Customer, I need 6 horseshoes. You, that'll be 18 pence. Guild maximum is 3 pence per shoe. Customer, 18 pence is too much. I'll give you 12 pence. You, that's 2 pence per shoe. That's below my costs. Customer, the blacksmith on Bread Street charges 2pence. You, then go to Bread Street. Customer, his work is terrible, but your prices are too high. You, 18 pence is the guild maximum. I'm already charging the lowest legal price. Customer, 15 pence. Final offer. You. Fine. 15 pence. You just lost 3 pence. 16% of the revenue. Because the customer knew you needed the business more than you needed to maintain your prices. This happens constantly, multiple times per week. The cumulative lost income is staggering. Some customers don't pay at all. They take the completed work. They promise to pay next week. Next week comes. They promise to pay the following week. The following week comes. They've disappeared. Or they claim they already paid. Or they claim the work was defective, even though it wasn't, and refuse payment. You have no recourse. You can complain to the guild. The guild will investigate. Eventually. Maybe. If they feel like it, the process takes months. By the time the guild gets around to your complaint, the customer has left London, or the debt is uncollectible, or the guild decides there's insufficient evidence. You're out the money. You're out the materials. You're out the labor. Total loss. You learn to demand partial payment up front. Half now, half on completion. This protects you somewhat, but some customers refuse. I don't pay until I see the completed work. Fine. Then you don't accept the commission. You can't afford to work for free and risk non-payment. The customer goes elsewhere. You lose the business. You lose potential income, but at least you're not losing money on materials and labor for no payment. The seasonal variation is terrible. Summer is busy. Everyone needs things. Horseshoes for travel, tools for harvest, repairs for carts and equipment. You're working constantly. 12-hour days. Every day. The income is good. The work is relentless. You're exhausted but earning. Winter is slow. People don't travel as much. Agricultural work stops. Demand plummets. You're sitting in your workshop with a forge cold because lighting it costs money and you don't have work that justifies the coal expense. Your income drops to maybe 2 shillings per week, sometimes less. Your costs don't drop. You're burning through your summer savings just to survive winter. This cycle repeats every year. Feast in summer, famine in winter. You should save more during summer to cover winter. But summer expenses are high too. You need to buy iron while you can afford it. You need to repair tools while you have income. You need to pay off debts accumulated during the previous winter. The summer surplus gets eaten by deferred costs. By the time winter arrives, you don't have as much saved as you should. Emergency expenses destroy you. Your anvil cracks. Anvils cost £5. £5. That's 12 weeks of good income. You can't afford to replace it. You repair it. The repair doesn't hold. You repair it again. You're working with a damaged anvil because buying a new one would bankrupt you. Your roof leaks. Roof repairs cost 8 shillings. 2 weeks of good income. You patch it yourself. The patch doesn't hold. You patch it again. The leak gets worse. Eventually, you have to hire a thatcher. 8 shillings. Gone. That was your winter savings. Now you're going into winter with no buffer. Your wife gets sick. Medical care costs money. Doctors charge a shilling per visit. Medicine costs extra. You can't afford a doctor. You try home remedies. They don't work. The sickness gets worse. You finally break down and pay for a doctor. 2 shillings total. The doctor bleeds her and prescribes herbs. The bleeding doesn't help. The herbs don't help. You're out 2 shillings and your wife is still sick. She eventually recovers on her own. The 2 shillings are just gone, wasted on medieval medicine that did nothing. Your apprentice gets injured. Badly. Burns his hand severely. Can't work for 3 weeks. You're still responsible for feeding him. He's not producing anything. He's just consuming resources. 3 weeks of feeding someone who's not contributing. This costs you approximately 3 shillings in food, plus lost productivity. You can't fire him. He's under contract for 7 years. You just have to absorb the loss. Debt is easy to accumulate and hard to escape. You borrow from a moneylender. £2 at 20% interest. You need the money to buy iron and coal to fulfill a large commission. The commission pays well. 6 shillings profit after costs. You pay back the £2 plus 4 shillings interest. Your profit is now 2 shillings, 1/3 of what it should have been. But you needed the loan to afford the materials to get the commission. The economics make sense. Barely. Except now you've established a relationship with the moneylender. When the next emergency comes, and it will come, you borrow again. And again. The interest accumulates. You're paying 4 shillings per year just in interest on various loans. That's a week of good income. Gone. Just interest. You're not reducing the principal. You're just servicing the debt. Some blacksmiths never escape debt. They work their entire lives and die owing money. Their descendants inherit the debt. The moneylenders are very happy with this arrangement. The blacksmiths are trapped, working constantly, earning money, watching it flow directly to creditors, never getting ahead, never accumulating wealth, just surviving indefinitely. You try to be smarter. You try to avoid debt. You try to save. You try to build a buffer. But emergencies keep happening. Costs keep rising. Income keeps fluctuating. The guild keeps fining you. Customers keep negotiating prices down. The economic pressure is constant and relentless. Your goal is simple. Survive this year. Then survive next year. Then the year after that. Wealth accumulation? Dream on. You're not getting rich. You're not building an estate. You're not leaving an inheritance. You're just trying to keep your shop open and your family fed. That's the entire goal. That's the maximum realistic aspiration. Some blacksmiths do better. The ones with wealthy customers, the ones with political connections, the ones who inherited thriving businesses from their masters, the ones who married into money. These blacksmiths own multiple shops. They hire journeymen to run them. They're guild leaders. They're wealthy. They're comfortable. You're not one of those blacksmiths. You're a working craftsman. You make things. You sell things. You earn enough to survive. You're never going to be wealthy. You're never going to be comfortable. You're going to work until your body gives out and hope you've saved enough to survive a few years of retirement before you die. The economic reality is harsh. Medieval blacksmithing was not a path to wealth for most practitioners. It was a path to survival. Barely. The profit margins were thin. The costs were high. The income was unreliable. The customers were difficult. The competition was intense. The regulations were restrictive. They worked anyway. They made it work. They fed their families. They trained apprentices. They contributed to their communities. They created the physical infrastructure of medieval London. The nails that held buildings together. The hinges that hung doors. The horseshoes that kept commerce moving. All while operating on margins so thin that one bad month could mean disaster. They deserve our acknowledgement. They built careers in an economic system designed to extract maximum value while providing minimum stability. They worked despite the pressure, despite the debt, despite the relentless financial stress, because the alternative was not working, and not working meant starvation. That's worth acknowledging. Your tools are everything. Without them, you can't work. Without work, you can't earn. Without earnings, you starve. So you treat your tools better than you treat yourself. You maintain them obsessively. You repair them immediately. You protect them constantly, because a broken tool isn't just an inconvenience, it's a financial disaster. Your hammer is your primary tool. 4 pounds of steel on a wooden handle. You've been using this hammer for 12 years. The handle has been replaced 6 times. The head is original. You inherited it from Master William. He inherited it from his master. This hammer is older than you. It'll outlive you. The hammer is eternal. The striking face is worn. 12 years of hitting hot iron has created a slight depression in the center. This affects the quality of your hammer blows. The force isn't distributed evenly. Your work is slightly less precise because of this wear. You should replace the hammer. A new hammer costs 8 pence. That's a day and a half of good income. You don't replace it. You compensate for the worn face by adjusting your technique. This works, mostly, until it doesn't. The handle cracks. This happens every 18 months to 2 years. The stress of repeated impacts cracks the wood. You notice it during work, a small crack near where the handle meets the head. This is dangerous. If the handle breaks during a swing, the hammerhead goes flying. 4 pounds of steel flying across the workshop. This can end someone, probably Thomas. He's always standing in the wrong place. You stop work immediately. You make a new handle. This takes 3 hours. You select ash, wood, strong, flexible, good for tool handles. You shape it with your draw knife. You fit it to the hammerhead. You secure it with a wedge. The new handle is installed. You've lost 3 hours of productive time. That's approximately 3 shillings of lost income. But you've prevented the hammer from potentially ending your apprentice. Fair trade. Your tongs are critical. You own 7 pairs of tongs. Different sizes for different work. Small tongs for delicate pieces. Large tongs for heavy stock. Specialized tongs for specific shapes. Each pair cost you between 4 pence and 6 pence when you bought them. Some you made yourself. Some you bought from other smiths. Tongs wear out. The jaws that grip the hot metal degrade from repeated heat exposure and mechanical stress. The grip gets loose. The metal slips. You lose control of the workpiece. This is dangerous. Hot iron falling onto your foot, onto the floor, into the coal pile. Any of these outcomes are bad. You repair the tongs by reforging the jaws. Heat the tong jaws. Reshape them. Restore the grip. This takes an hour per pair. You do this approximately twice per year for all 7 pairs. 14 hours per year. 3.5 shillings of lost productive time. But functional tongs are non-negotiable. So you do the maintenance. Your anvil is the most expensive tool you own. 150 pounds of solid iron. Cost 5 pounds when purchased new. You didn't purchase yours new. You inherited it. But if you had to replace it today, that's what it would cost. 5 pounds, 12 weeks of good income. The anvil is worth more than everything else in your workshop combined. The anvil face is hardened steel. The surface needs to be perfectly flat and smooth for precision work. Your anvil face is neither flat nor smooth anymore. 15 years of hammering has created divots. Small depressions where you repeatedly strike the same areas. The surface has minor chips where you accidentally struck it directly with your hammer instead of hitting the workpiece. These imperfections affect your work quality. The metal doesn't sit flat on the anvil. Your hammer blows aren't perfectly perpendicular. Your finished pieces have slight irregularities. Customers don't usually notice. You notice. It bothers you. But resurfacing an anvil costs 2 shillings and requires taking it to a specialized smith who has the equipment to do it properly. You don't have 2 shillings to spare, so you work with the imperfect anvil. The hardy hole, the square hole in the anvil that holds various tools, is slightly enlarged from wear. Your hardy tools don't fit as tightly as they should. They wobble. This is annoying and slightly dangerous. A loose hardy can pop out during hammering. You've learned to wedge them in place with small metal shims. This works. It's not ideal. It's what you can afford. Your forge is a constant maintenance nightmare. The brick lining degrades from repeated heating and cooling cycles. Bricks crack. Mortar crumbles. You repair it yourself. New bricks cost a penny each. Mortar is cheap. Your labor is free because you're doing it yourself. You spend approximately 1 day per month on forge maintenance. That's 12 days per year. 3 shillings of lost income. But a functional forge is non-negotiable. The chimney clogs with soot and creosote. This reduces draft. The fire doesn't burn as hot. Your productivity drops. You climb onto the roof twice per year and clean the chimney. This is dangerous. Medieval roofs are not OSHA compliant. The roof is steep. The tiles are loose. You're 40 feet up, holding onto a chimney while scraping out soot. 1 slip and you're dead. You don't slip. You're very careful. The chimney gets cleaned. The forge draft improves. The bellows require constant repair. The leather develops holes from the heat and from general wear. Air leaks out. The bellows become ineffective. You patch the holes with leather scraps. You re-sew torn seams. You replace the leather entirely every 3 years. New leather for bellows costs 2 shillings. That's half a week of good income. You have no choice. Without functional bellows, the forge doesn't get hot enough. Without hot enough forge, you can't work iron. You buy the leather. Your files are expensive and wear out quickly. Files are made of hardened steel with cutting teeth. You use them to smooth metal, remove burrs, create precise edges. The teeth wear down from use. A worn file doesn't cut effectively. It just slides across the metal, accomplishing nothing. A new file costs 4 pence. You own 6 files. You replace approximately 2 per year, 8 pence annually. This seems minor until you add it to all the other tool costs. You sharpen your chisels and punches regularly. These tools need to be sharp to work effectively. You use a whetstone. The whetstone itself wears down and needs replacing every 2 years. You spend approximately 2 hours per month sharpening tools. 24 hours per year. 6 shillings of lost productive time. But dull tools are useless tools, so you sharpen. The slack tub, your water barrel for quenching, needs replacing every 5 years. The wood degrades from constant water exposure. It starts leaking. You repair it with pitch and tar. Eventually, the repairs don't hold. You buy a new barrel. Cost 1 shilling. Plus the time to transport it from the cooper's shop to your workshop. Plus the time to fill it with water hauled from the well 3 streets over. Total time investment, half a day. Total cost, 1 shilling plus lost productivity. Your techniques are traditional. You learned them during your apprenticeship. Master William learned them during his apprenticeship. His master learned them during his apprenticeship. These techniques have been passed down for generations. They work. They're proven. They're also inefficient by any modern standard. You heat metal by color. Orange-red for shaping, yellow for welding, white for maximum malleability. This works, but it's imprecise. Temperature variation affects quality. Sometimes the metal is too hot, sometimes not hot enough. You compensate through experience and judgment. A modern thermometer would make this more precise. Thermometers won't be practical for forge work for another few centuries, so you use your eyeballs and hope. You weld by forge welding. Heat 2 pieces to yellow hot. Apply flux borax to prevent oxidation. Hammer them together. The pieces fuse if everything is perfect. Temperature exactly right. Flux applied correctly. Hammer strikes precise. Any deviation and the weld fails. The pieces don't fuse. You've wasted materials and time. You start over. Your success rate on forge welding is maybe 70%. 30% of attempts fail. This is normal. This is expected. This is just how forge welding works with medieval technology. A modern welder with an acetylene torch and proper equipment would have a 95% success rate. You have eyeballs and experience. 70% is actually pretty good. You shape metal through repeated heating and hammering. This is time-consuming. Each piece requires 8 to 10 heating cycles. Each heating uses coal. Each cycle takes 3 to 5 minutes. A simple horseshoe takes 30 to 40 minutes of active work. A modern blacksmith with better tools and techniques could do it in 15 minutes. You take 40 minutes because that's how long it takes with your techniques and equipment. The inefficiency costs you money. Time is money. The longer each piece takes, the fewer pieces you can make per day. Fewer pieces means less income. But you can't work faster without better equipment. Better equipment costs money you don't have. So you work at the speed your tools and techniques allow. Disasters happen. Regularly. Inevitably. This is when everything goes catastrophically wrong. Your anvil cracks. Not the face, the body. A stress fracture from decades of use. This is catastrophic. The crack will propagate. Eventually the anvil will split completely. A split anvil is useless. You need a new anvil. Cost, £5. You don't have £5. You panic. You try to repair it. You heat the crack area. You try to forge weld it closed. This doesn't work. You can't heat an anvil evenly enough to weld it. The thermal mass is too great. You try using metal bands to hold it together. This works, temporarily. The crack continues to spread, slowly, but it's spreading. You start saving obsessively. Every spare penny goes toward the anvil fund. You cut costs everywhere. Less coal, less food, no new clothes, no tool replacements unless absolutely critical. You save for 8 months. You have £3. You need 2 more. You borrow from a moneylender. £2 at 20% interest. Total cost, £2, 8 shillings including interest. You buy the new anvil. £5. Gone. 8 months of savings plus debt. But you have a functional anvil. You can continue working. The old, cracked anvil becomes scrap metal. You sell it for 10 shillings. That covers half the borrowed amount. You still owe £1, 8 shillings. You'll be paying this off for the next year. The workshop catches fire. This happens. Hot coals fall from the forge, land in the straw on the floor. The straw ignites. Fire spreads. Fast. You grab water. Thomas grabs water. You throw water on the fire. The fire spreads to the wooden workbench. Now the bench is burning. More water. The fire reaches the wall. The wooden wall. This is bad. This is potentially lose everything bad. You get the fire under control. Barely. The bench is destroyed. The wall is charred. The straw is gone. The smoke damage is extensive. Everything in the workshop is covered in soot. Your tools need cleaning. Your inventory is smoke damaged. Some pieces are ruined. Total financial damage. Approximately 4 shillings in destroyed materials and equipment, plus 2 days of lost productivity while you clean and repair. 6 shillings total loss. 1.5 weeks of good income. Gone, because some hot coals fell in the wrong place. You implement better fire safety. You remove the straw from the floor. You keep water buckets positioned strategically. You're more careful about coal placement. You watch the forge more closely. You don't want this to happen again. It probably will happen again. Fire is an occupational hazard. You just try to minimize the frequency and severity. Your apprentice makes a catastrophic mistake. Thomas is working on a commission. A set of decorative hinges for a wealthy merchant. Complicated scroll work, precise dimensions, worth 2 shillings when completed. Thomas heats the metal too hot, way too hot. White-hot transitioning to yellow-white. This is burning temperature. The metal starts to deteriorate. Thomas doesn't notice. He hammers it. The metal crumbles. Literally crumbles. The piece is destroyed, completely ruined. 2 shillings of lost income, plus the wasted iron approximately £4, worth 6p, plus the wasted coal, a day's worth about a penny, plus the wasted time 4 hours, worth approximately 1 shilling. Total loss, 3 shillings 9p. Almost a week of good income. Gone. Because your 14-year-old apprentice overheated the metal. You're furious. You yell at Thomas. He's terrified. You explain exactly what he did wrong. You explain the cost of his mistake. You make him watch while you start the piece over from scratch. You don't beat him. Some masters would beat him. You just make him feel terrible through detailed explanation of how much money he just cost you. This is arguably worse than beating. The piece gets remade. Correctly this time. You do it yourself. Thomas watches and learns. The commission is completed. 1 week late. The merchant is annoyed. You explain there were complications. You don't mention that the complications were, my apprentice destroyed the first attempt. The merchant accepts the late delivery. He pays, finally. Some income to offset the disaster. A tool breaks during use. Your favorite pair of tongs. The ones you've been using for 8 years. The ones that fit your hand perfectly. The reins, the handles snap. Metal fatigue. Years of stress. The tong handles break while you're holding hot iron. The hot iron falls onto your foot, through your boot, 3rd-degree burn, instant blistering, excruciating pain. You drop everything, plunge your foot into the slack tub. The water provides temporary relief. The burn is bad, very bad. You can see bone. This needs medical attention. You can't afford medical attention. You wrap it yourself, cloth and hope. You can't work for 3 days. The foot hurts too much to stand. 3 days of 0 income. Plus the cost of new tongs 6 pence. Plus the cost of a new boot because the old one is burned through 8 pence. Plus the pain and the permanent scar and the fact that your foot will hurt when it rains for the rest of your life. Total cost. Approximately 4 shillings in lost income and expenses. 1 week of good income. Gone. Because a tool broke at the worst possible moment. These disasters accumulate, 1 per month on average. Small disasters mostly, occasionally large ones. Each disaster costs money. Each disaster costs time. Each disaster adds stress to an already stressful existence. You can't prevent them all. You can only respond and recover and hope the next one isn't catastrophic enough to end your business entirely. As one contemporary blacksmith wrote in his account book from 1342, lost 3 days' work to burned hand, lost 2 shillings on ruined commission. The forge giveth, and the forge taketh away. The resignation is palpable, the acceptance that disasters are inevitable, the understanding that this is just how the profession works. They endured anyway. They fixed the tools. They rebuilt after fires. They absorbed the losses. They continued working despite the disasters because stopping meant starvation. The resilience is remarkable. The determination is admirable. The cost was enormous. These were real people, dealing with real disasters, using inadequate tools and insufficient resources. They deserve our acknowledgement for persisting despite everything going wrong constantly. They built their livelihoods in a profession where catastrophic failure was not a possibility but an inevitability, and they did it anyway. That's worth acknowledging. You're a master craftsman, a skilled tradesman, a member of a prestigious guild. You own your own business. By medieval standards, you're successful. By any reasonable standard, your life is absolutely brutal. Your social status is complicated. You're not a peasant. You're not a serf tied to someone else's land working someone else's fields. You're urban, educated in your craft, economically independent. This puts you above roughly 70% of the population. You should feel successful. You mostly feel exhausted. You're also not nobility, not clergy, not a wealthy merchant. You work with your hands. You're covered in soot and scars. You smell like smoke permanently. The upper classes look down on you, literally and figuratively. You're a craftsman, useful, necessary, not respectable, not someone they'd invite to dinner, not someone they'd consider an equal. Your position is middle, solidly middle. Better than most, worse than some. You have enough to eat, most of the time. You have a roof that mostly doesn't leak. You have work that mostly provides income. You're surviving. That's the entire achievement. Survival. Indefinitely. Your wife married you when you became a master. This was strategic. You needed a wife to run the household while you worked. She needed economic security. Love wasn't really part of the equation. You've developed affection over 7 years of marriage. Genuine affection. But the foundation was practical. You had a trade. She had domestic skills. The arrangement made economic sense. She runs the household, cooks, cleans, manages the food budget, raises your son and daughter. This is full-time work, arguably harder than forge work because it never stops. Forge work ends at 5 p.m. Household work ends never. There's always something. Always cleaning, always cooking, always managing. She works as hard as you do. She's not paid. This is just expected. Medieval gender economics. She also helps with the business, keeps the account books, tracks income and expenses, deals with customers when you're too busy, haggles with suppliers. She's better at negotiating than you are. She's saved you money multiple times by getting better prices on coal and iron. Her economic contribution is substantial. Her work is unpaid and largely unacknowledged. This is normal. This is how households operate. You have 2 young ones, a son age 5 and a daughter age 3. You'll likely have more. Birth control is essentially hope and pray. Your wife will probably have 6 or 7 pregnancies total. 3 or 4 will result in living sons and daughters who survive past age 5. The others will end in miscarriage, stillbirth, or early mortality. This is normal. This is expected. This is medieval demographics. Pregnancy is dangerous, extremely dangerous. Maternal mortality is approximately 1 in 3 over a woman's lifetime. 1 in 3 women die from pregnancy-related complications at some point. Your wife has survived 2 pregnancies. She'll face this risk 4 or 5 more times. Each pregnancy is potentially fatal. You're aware of this. She's aware of this. Everyone is aware of this. You proceed anyway because having sons and daughters is not optional. They are economic assets, future labor, future support in your old age. Your son will become a blacksmith, probably, if he survives to age 12. If you can afford to keep him as your apprentice instead of selling his apprenticeship to someone else. If the guild allows you to train your own son, which they usually do but sometimes don't for complicated political reasons, he'll learn the trade. He'll inherit your tools. He'll inherit your workshop. He'll inherit your debts. The cycle continues. Your daughter will marry. Probably a craftsman. Her dowry will cost you approximately £3. £3. You'll spend the next 8 years saving for this. Every spare penny. Building toward the day when you give some other craftsman £3 plus your daughter in exchange for her being someone else's economic responsibility. This sounds harsh. This is how medieval marriage works. Economic transactions, practical arrangements, survival strategies. You love your son and daughter, actually love them. You want them to survive, to thrive, to have better lives than you have. You're trying to provide this, but your capacity to provide is limited by your income, which is limited by your productivity, which is limited by your deteriorating body. You're doing your best. Your best is barely adequate. This is painful to acknowledge. Your son and daughter live in a workshop environment. They're growing up breathing coal smoke. They're growing up around hot metal and dangerous tools. Your son has already been burned twice. Minor burns. Accidents. He touched the anvil when it was hot. He got too close to the forge. These are learning experiences. Painful, scarring, learning experiences. Your daughter stays mostly in the house. Mostly. She's still been burned once. The forge is 15 feet from the living area. There's no separation, no safety barrier, just proximity. The smoke exposure is concerning. Your son and daughter cough. Not as badly as you cough, but they cough. They're 3 and 5 years old, and they're already developing respiratory symptoms. You know this is bad. You know the smoke is damaging their lungs. You can't do anything about it. Moving the workshop means losing your customer base. Losing customers means losing income. Losing income means starvation. So they breathe smoke. You feel terrible about this. You do it anyway. Your social life is limited. You work 12 hours per day, 6 days per week. You attend mandatory guild meetings once per month. You go to church on Sundays because not going is illegal and also socially unacceptable. You attend mandatory guild feasts twice per year. These activities account for approximately 90% of your social interaction outside your household. You have friends, other blacksmiths mostly. You see them at guild meetings. You drink with them occasionally at the tavern. These friendships are professional as much as personal. You trade advice about techniques. You complain about guild regulations. You share information about suppliers and customers. These relationships are valuable. They're not deep. You don't have time for deep relationships. You barely have time for shallow ones. Your recreation is minimal. There's no vacation, no weekends, no days off except Sundays and holy days, which are spent at church and with family, not relaxing. Your idea of recreation is sitting down after work and drinking ale while staring at nothing. This is the extent of your leisure activity. You're too tired for anything more ambitious. The long-term cost is becoming apparent. You're 27 years old. You've been doing this for 15 years. Your body is falling apart. Your lungs are destroyed. The chronic cough is getting worse. You're short of breath with minimal exertion. Going upstairs makes you wheeze. Working the forge makes you wheeze. Existing makes you wheeze. Your lung capacity has decreased noticeably over the past 5 years. This will continue to decrease. Eventually, you won't be able to breathe well enough to work. This is your future. Slow suffocation, progressive respiratory failure. Your hearing is gone. The tinnitus is constant and loud. Actual sounds are muffled. People have to repeat themselves. Your wife is frustrated with having to yell everything. Your son and daughter have learned to speak loudly around you. You're missing conversations, missing details, misunderstanding instructions. This affects your work. This affects your relationships. This gets worse every year. Your hands are damaged. The burns have created scar tissue. The scar tissue has reduced flexibility. Your fingers don't bend as far as they used to. Your grip strength has decreased. You're compensating through technique. This works now. In 10 years, it won't work. You'll lose the ability to do precision work. Your earning capacity will decrease. Your economic value will decrease. Your ability to support your family will decrease. Your back is catastrophic. 15 years of standing and hammering have created chronic pain. Lower back, upper back, shoulders. The pain is constant. Some days worse than others. You can't stand up straight. You can't lift heavy things without pain. You're taking willow bark tea for the pain. It helps slightly, very slightly. The pain continues. The pain will continue for the rest of your life. Your life expectancy is shortened, substantially shortened. Average life expectancy for medieval men is approximately 45 years. For blacksmiths, it's closer to 40. The smoke exposure, the physical stress, the occupational hazards, these all reduce lifespan. You're 27. You've probably got 13 years left, maybe 15 if you're lucky. You'll be dead by 42, maybe 45. Your son and daughter will inherit your workshop while they're still young. Your wife will probably remarry. This is just demographic reality. You think about this sometimes. Late at night, when the forge is cold and the workshop is quiet. You think about the fact that you're destroying your body. You think about the fact that you'll probably never see your grandchildren. You think about the fact that your son will inherit a business that will destroy his body the same way it's destroying yours. This is depressing. Spectacularly depressing. But dwelling on it accomplishes nothing, so you don't dwell. You work, you provide, you survive. You push the thoughts away and focus on today's commissions and today's problems and today's disasters. Tomorrow will bring its own disasters. You'll deal with them tomorrow. Your emotional state is complicated. You're proud of your work, genuinely proud. You make good things, functional things, beautiful things sometimes. You've mastered a difficult craft. You're contributing to your community. These facts provide satisfaction. You're also exhausted, constantly exhausted, physically exhausted from 12-hour days, mentally exhausted from constant economic pressure, emotionally exhausted from watching your body deteriorate while knowing there's nothing you can do about it. The exhaustion is cumulative. It builds, year after year. It never goes away. You're never rested. You never recovered. You just exist in a permanent state of depletion. You're frustrated with the system, the guild regulations that restrict your income, the customers who negotiate prices down, the economic pressure that never stops, the fact that you work harder than many people and earn less than some. The unfairness is obvious. The unfairness is also irrelevant. The system is the system. You can't change it. You can only work within it. You're scared sometimes. Scared that you'll get injured too badly to work. Scared that you'll lose the workshop. Scared that you won't be able to provide for your family. Scared that your son and daughter will suffer because of your inadequacy. These fears are rational. These fears are based on real risks. You don't talk about them. Talking about fears doesn't make them go away, so you keep them internal. You work, you hope, you continue. The mental toll is substantial. You don't have language for mental health. Depression isn't a concept you'd recognize. Anxiety isn't a diagnosable condition. You just feel bad sometimes. Tired, overwhelmed, hopeless. These feelings are normal. Everyone feels this way sometimes. You push through. Because pushing through is the only option. As one London craftsman wrote in 1348, 20 years at the forge and my hands shake, my breath fails, my back bends, but the work continues. The iron does not care for the smith's suffering. It must be shaped regardless. The resignation is absolute. The acceptance that suffering is just part of the profession. The understanding that the work matters more than the worker. They continued anyway. They worked despite the pain, despite the fear, despite the knowledge that they were destroying themselves, because their families depended on them, because stopping meant starvation, because the work had to be done, and they were the ones doing it. These were real people carrying enormous burdens, physical deterioration, economic pressure, family responsibility, fear for the future. They carried all of it while working 12-hour days in toxic environments that were slowly ending them. They deserve our acknowledgement. They deserve our understanding. They built the infrastructure of medieval cities while building nothing for themselves except pain. The cost was enormous. The sacrifice was real. They paid it anyway. That's worth acknowledging. Welcome to the end of our journey through the life of a medieval blacksmith in 1345, London. We've covered a lot. Let's bring it all together. You wake at 4 a.m. every single day. The rooster yells. Your body protests. Everything hurts because you're 27 years old with the physical condition of someone twice that age. You eat flavorless porridge because that's what's affordable. You light the forge while the city is still dark. You work for 12 hours straight in temperatures exceeding 100 degrees in summer, breathing toxic coal smoke that's destroying your lungs, accumulating burns that will scar permanently, hammering metal 4,000 times per day until your hands shake and your back screams and your ears ring so loudly that silence doesn't exist anymore. You do this 6 days per week, 52 weeks per year, for your entire adult life. From age 18, when you completed your apprenticeship, until age 40-something, when your body finally gives out completely. The apprenticeship system got you here. 7 years of unpaid labor, starting at age 11. 7 years of being servant, student, and punching bag while Master William taught you the craft through criticism and occasional instruction. 7 years of watching, learning, burning yourself, breathing smoke, developing the calluses and the scars and the lung damage that mark you as a blacksmith. 7 years of your parents paying £12 borrowed at interest rates that would make modern loan sharks jealous, all so you could learn a trade that would slowly destroy you. But it worked. You learned. You survived. You became competent. By age 18, you were a journeyman. By age 27, you were a master with your own shop. The system was brutal and exploitative and designed to extract maximum value from young people who had zero agency. But it provided a path, a terrible path, but a path. You took it because the alternatives were worse. Your daily routine is relentless. 4 a.m. to 5 p.m., 12 hours, heat, smoke, burns, noise. The temperature regulation is catastrophic. Too hot in summer, too cold in winter, never comfortable. The forge burns at 2,000 degrees while you stand 3 feet away for 12 hours. Your body tries to cool itself through sweating. You lose gallons of fluid per day. You drink warm ale because the water will give you dysentery. The smoke fills your lungs with particulates and sulfur and carbon monoxide. Your chronic cough is getting worse every year. Your lung capacity is decreasing. Eventually, you won't be able to breathe well enough to work. This is inevitable. This is just delayed. This is your future. The burns are constant, not occasional, constant. Every single day you're burned. Small burns mostly, sparks, hot metal touching skin, blisters forming and popping and scarring. Your hands and arms look like topographical maps of volcanic regions. The big burns happen monthly. Third-degree burns, tissue damage, infections, permanent scarring, reduced mobility. Your hands are developing contractures, permanent curling because the scar tissue is pulling your skin tight. This affects your work. This affects your income. This affects your ability to provide for your family. Your hearing is destroyed. Tinnitus, permanent, constant. The ringing never stops. Actual sounds are muffled. Conversations are difficult. You're 27 and you're already partially deaf. By 40, you'll be significantly deaf. This is normal. Every blacksmith has this. Everyone who works with metal loses their hearing. The hammering is too loud. The exposure is too long. The damage is cumulative and permanent. The guild controls everything. The worshipful company of blacksmiths regulates what you make, what you charge, who you train, how you work, when you work, where you work. You pay 2 shillings per year for the privilege of being regulated. You attend mandatory meetings once per month. You participate in mandatory ceremonies. You contribute to mandatory feasts. You accept fines when inspectors decide your work isn't perfect or your workshop isn't clean or you violated some regulation you didn't know existed. The guild protects established masters, the ones with wealth and connections, the ones who've been in the profession for 30 years. The regulations benefit them. The regulations restrict you. You can only have 2 apprentices. You can only charge maximum prices. You can only work approved hours. You can't innovate. You can't compete too aggressively. You can't undercut the wealthy masters who make the rules. You're trapped in a system designed to keep you in your place. Middle. Not thriving, just surviving. The economics are brutal. Your income fluctuates wildly. Good weeks, 8 shillings. Bad weeks, 2 shillings. Average weeks, 4 to 6 shillings. Your costs are fixed. Iron, 3 shillings per month. Coal, 2 shillings per month. Rent, 1 shilling per month. Food, 5 shillings 8 pence per month. Guild dues, 2 shillings per year. Tools, constant maintenance and replacement. Add it all up and 67% of your income goes to fixed costs before you've saved anything or handled any emergencies. Emergencies happen constantly. Tools break. The forge needs repair. The roof leaks. Your wife gets sick. Your apprentice gets injured. The workshop catches fire. Each emergency costs money you don't have. You go into debt. The debt accumulates interest. The interest accumulates more debt. Some blacksmiths never escape. They work their entire lives and die owing money. Their descendants inherit the debt. The cycle continues. Your customers are nightmares. They negotiate aggressively. They dispute prices. They delay payment. They claim work is defective when it's perfect. They try to exploit the guild maximum prices by demanding discounts. You need their business, so you accept lower prices. You lose money on commissions. You work for free sometimes when customers refuse to pay and you have no recourse. The economic pressure is constant and relentless. Your tools are your livelihood. Without them, you can't work. Your hammer has been in use for 12 years. The handle has been replaced 6 times. Your anvil cost £5, 12 weeks of good income, and it's developing cracks. Your tongs wear out from heat exposure, your files wear down, your forge bricks crumble, your bellows develop leaks. Everything requires constant maintenance. Everything costs money. Everything takes time away from productive work. When disasters happen, and they happen regularly, the costs are catastrophic. Your anvil cracks completely. You need a new one. £5. You don't have £5. You save for 8 months. You borrow £2 at 20% interest. You buy the anvil. You're in debt for a year. The workshop catches fire. 4 shillings of damage. 1.5 weeks of income. Gone. Your apprentice ruins a commission. 3 shillings, 9 pence lost. A week of income. Destroyed. These disasters accumulate. 1 per month average. Each one costs money. Each one costs time. Each one adds stress to an already impossible situation. Your social status is middle, better than peasants, worse than nobles. You're useful, necessary, not respectable. You work with your hands. You're covered in soot. You smell like smoke permanently. The upper classes look down on you. You look down on people below you. You're trapped in the middle, never rising, never falling, just existing at the same level indefinitely. Your family depends on you. Your wife runs the household and helps with the business. Unpaid, unacknowledged, essential. Your son and daughter are growing up breathing forge smoke, developing respiratory symptoms at ages 3 and 5, getting burned, learning that life is work, and work is suffering, and suffering is normal. Your son will inherit your trade. Your daughter will marry and cost you £3 in dowry. You love them. You want better for them. You can't provide better. You can only provide what you have, which is barely adequate. The long-term cost is your body. Your lungs are failing. Your hearing is gone. Your hands are scarred and damaged. Your back is in constant pain. You're 27. You probably have 13 to 15 years left. You'll be dead by 42. Maybe 45 if you're lucky. You know this. Everyone knows this. Blacksmiths don't live long. The smoke gets everyone eventually. Even if the burns don't. Even if the accidents don't. The smoke eventually wins. You think about this sometimes. Late at night, when the workshop is quiet, you think about the fact that you're destroying yourself. You think about the fact that your son will inherit a trade that will destroy him the same way. You think about the fact that you work harder than many people and earn less than some and will die younger than most. This is depressing. You don't dwell on it. Dwelling accomplishes nothing. You push it away. You focus on today. Today's work. Today's problems. Today's small victories and constant disasters. But despite everything, despite the pain and the poverty and the pressure and the knowledge that this is slowly ending you, there's pride. Genuine pride. You make things, real things, functional things, beautiful things sometimes. You've mastered a difficult craft. You can take raw iron and transform it into tools, into horseshoes, into hinges, into gates with intricate scrollwork. You can look at a piece and know you made it. Know you made it well. Know that it will last for decades. Know that it serves a purpose. The nails you make hold buildings together. The hinges you forge hang doors that protect families. The horseshoes you shape keep horses sound, so commerce continues. The tools you create help other craftsmen do their work. You're contributing. Your work matters. Your work has meaning beyond just earning money. You're building the infrastructure of London, one nail at a time, one hinge at a time, one horseshoe at a time. This matters. This actually matters. Not just to you, to everyone. Medieval cities couldn't function without blacksmiths. The entire economy depended on people like you making the basic metal goods that everyone needed. Farmers needed tools. Merchants needed horseshoes. Builders needed nails. Everyone needed hinges. You provided these things, reliably, consistently, despite everything working against you. The blacksmiths of medieval London were essential, absolutely essential. They endured conditions that would make modern safety inspectors fake their own deaths and move to remote islands. They worked in temperatures that violate multiple OSHA standards. They breathed air that would be classified as hazardous. They handled materials that caused permanent injuries. They did all of this for marginal pay, under restrictive regulations, with no safety net, knowing it was destroying them. They did it anyway, because their families depended on them, because their communities needed them, Because the work had to be done and they were the ones doing it. Because stopping meant starvation and continuing meant suffering, but suffering while productive was better than suffering while idle. They deserve our remembrance. Every blacksmith who stood at a forge breathing toxic smoke. Every apprentice who learned the trade through burns and criticism. Every master who trained the next generation, despite knowing the cost. Every family that supported their blacksmith through the disasters and the injuries and the chronic illness. They all endured what we can't imagine. They deserve our gratitude. We stand on their suffering. Every advance in metallurgy, every improvement in working conditions, every safety regulation, every worker's right. All of it was built on the foundation of their exploitation. They paid the price. They endured the consequences. We inherited the progress. They deserve our acknowledgement. They were real people, with real pain and real fears and real hopes. They wanted their sons and daughters to survive. They wanted to provide for their families. They wanted to do good work. They wanted their lives to matter. They achieved these things despite a system designed to extract maximum value while providing minimum support. The medieval blacksmith's life was not romantic, not noble, not enviable. It was hard and painful and short. The forge gave them a livelihood. The forge also took their health, their hearing, their lung capacity, their life expectancy, and eventually their lives. The transaction was unequal. The cost was enormous. They paid it anyway. Modern blacksmithing is different. Better ventilation, better tools, better safety equipment, better economic conditions, better regulations, better everything. These improvements didn't appear spontaneously. They appeared because generations of blacksmiths suffered and died, and their suffering eventually motivated change. Slowly, painfully slowly, but eventually. The blacksmiths of 1345 couldn't imagine the working conditions of 2025. The idea that you could work with metal without destroying your lungs would seem like fantasy. The idea that burns could be treated effectively would seem impossible. The idea that you could work 40 hours per week instead of 72 would seem like paradise. The progress is real. The progress is substantial. The progress was built on their suffering. So take a moment, right now, wherever you're watching this. Think about the fact that you probably have clean air to breathe, access to medical care if you're injured, the ability to work without accumulating permanent damage, the option to change jobs if your current one is destroying you, labor protections, safety regulations, workers' rights. These things exist because people suffered without them long enough that eventually someone decided maybe workers shouldn't have to die for their employers. Be grateful, not in an abstract way, in a concrete way. You have things medieval blacksmiths couldn't imagine. You have options they didn't have. You have protections they would have considered miraculous. You inherited this. You didn't earn it. People who came before you earned it through their suffering. Honor that. Acknowledge that. Remember that. And remember them. The blacksmiths of medieval London. The ones who stood at forges for 12 hours per day. The ones who breathed smoke until their lungs gave out. The ones who burned themselves constantly. The ones who went deaf from the hammering. The ones who worked until their bodies quit. The ones who died young. The ones who did all of this so that eventually, centuries later, someone would learn better. They were real people. They hurt, they feared, they hoped. They loved their families. They took pride in their work. They endured suffering we can't comprehend. They deserve better than to be forgotten. They've earned our gratitude. They've earned our respect. They've earned our remembrance. We stand on their suffering. We benefit from their sacrifice. The least we can do is remember they existed. The fire is dimming now. The forge has cooled. The tools are put away. The medieval blacksmith has finished his day and gone home to his family and his straw mattress and his smoke-saturated house. Tomorrow he'll wake at 4 a.m. and do it all again, and the day after that, and the day after that, until eventually his body gives out and someone else takes his place at the forge. The cycle continues. The work continues. The iron doesn't care about the smith's suffering. It must be shaped regardless. But at least they tried. At least they endured. At least they built something that lasted longer than they did. Their nails still hold buildings together. Their techniques informed future generations. Their suffering eventually motivated progress. They mattered. Their work mattered. Their lives mattered. Until next time, traveler, remember them.